What's going on, guys? Mr. 55, Jack Wallace here, again with another edition of 55 Live here on the WZWA Network. Tonight, we've got a local legend here in Perth, Western Australia, who wrestles for Explosive Pro Wrestling, and we had the owner of Explosive Pro Wrestling on the show a few months ago, known as David Storm. Of course, yeah, I had an awesome chat with him, and that was absolutely a lot of fun, and we found out the history of EPW, as well as the others that kind of came and gone. And one of the guys we have here tonight was mentioned there a lot. But before I mention him and introduce him I want to introduce my co-host tonight, as usual, Karlifornia and Fury. How you going, mate?
What's up, Jack? What's going on, bro? I'm excited. This guy's my favorite Perth professional wrestler. Yep. Huge fan. And this is going to be fun, man, because as soon, the first one that you want to do is always going to have to be David Storm, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
And we discussed, okay, who's next? Well, of course, it was the fucking Don, bro. It had to be the Don.
Of course, man. And all the names that we say that we want to interview in Perth, like we say, like we don't only want to do so many in Perth, but the guys we want to interview are the, you already know, Carl, the Mount Rushmore of Perth. Absolutely. All those sorts of names, man. Yeah. And of course, I'm glad that I've actually made it here tonight because last week we had the Blue Meanie on the show. And I feel like it's...
you fell asleep and you missed the show. And I did it by myself.
The Blue fucking Meanie.
That's what happens when you day drink, Jack.
The Blue fucking Meanie, man.
Yeah.
Like, I've been a fan of him for so long, and I... Anyway, it wasn't...
Useless, cunt.
Anyway,
bring on our guest, bro.
We've got the Don Michael Morleone here. Don, how are you going tonight, my friend?
I am doing great. What an intro, guys! I'm Mount Rushmore of Perth wrestling. Carl's favorite wrestler. I'm flattered. My cheeks are blushing. It's great. But also, before we get too far, how did you sleep through the Zoom chat with Blue Meanie, brother?
Goodness. So I had a day drinking gig watching the footy. I'm a Brisbane Lions supporter, so I'm having a good season. And we played St Kilda last week and went to a mate's house who's a St Kilda supporter. Had a bit too much to drink, came home. Had my alarm set for 9 p.m. because we had it set for 11 p.m. and I just never woke up. Then I woke up at 9 in the morning to Carl just spamming me with messages and calls.
Where the fuck are you? What has happened? Here I am thinking he might be in hospital or something. There's no way he'll miss out on this or not tell me what's going on. So,
Colin, missing persons reports and stuff, man. Far out.
Oh, man, it was awful. I was fucking pissed when I woke up. But, hey, Carl, you want to kick things off?
Sure, bro. So, Don, we always start every conversation with the same question. And that's how you became a wrestling fan when you were youngin'.
So... It's weird because the memories I have that are very strong is I can't tell you exactly what the show was. I remember sitting down like early morning, Saturdays, I think it was on Channel 9, and I want to say it was World Class Championship Wrestling, but I'm not 100% sure. I just remember being a kid and seeing like W and then it looked like 100 Cs, like WCCCCW. So I'm assuming from my knowledge later that it was actually World Class Championship Wrestling, and they had like I think the only person I remember was seeing Hulk Hogan, but just it was on early, and then there was a gap of not watching much wrestling, and then I think there was WrestleMania 13 was on Channel 10. It was Austin versus Shawn Michaels, and that was another little boost of like. Holy crap, wrestling, but there was never anywhere really to regularly watch it. And then there was that little period of time where you would get Sunday Night Heat at like 11 o'clock at night, or could have even been 1 in the morning. It didn't matter to me, but like they would have Sunday Night Heats on. Then you would get, like, it was all sporadic over the years of little bits. And then my local video store, you could get like 10 weeklies for $10. And it was all like, you'd have maybe 1 or 2 WF, but it was all like ECW, but not even like Extreme Championship Wrestling. It was Eastern Championship Wrestling, and watching that, and like, it was still good, but it wasn't the hype that you get from like, then later on, I think Channel 10 put on King of the Ring, maybe 98.
I think you're talking about Survivor Series 98, the Deadly Game
Survivor
tournament.
Series.
Yeah,
Yes.
I watched that. That was the first night I was a wrestling fan, was from watching that.
Yeah, so these were all like little bits, and then that like really picked it up, and then I kind of like made my dad get Foxtel. Like I was like, I have to watch something, and then Foxtel, and then you'd get 3 hours of Nitro on TNT, and it was pretty much all the Conan Filthy Animals videos, and you know, Kevin Nash and Rey Mysterio, but like 3 hours, and I was glued. And I couldn't, like, there was even, like, if you turn to the main event channel, they'd have, WCW at the time had this really cool thing where they would do like a tiny little, maybe 15-minute hype package for the next pay-per-view that was coming up, like your Spring Stampedes and all that. And but they would have Mike Tenay in there just having a chat, and I thought I hacked the system. Like I was watching wrestling for free, like I wasn't paying for it. So I'd watch those same replays over and over and over, like just the little snippets building up the pay-per-views. And then I quickly learned that they were just selling it to me. And they did a good job, because I was lucky enough to have a dad that was cool enough that every month when the pay-per-view was on, I got to have Monday off school. And we'd sit there and we watch like, all the WCW, and I loved every second of it, man. Like the big egos and the big like the lights and the characters and the just people. And I legit, I bought every second of it. I thought guys were beating the shit out of each other. And when people, I remember people saying to me, it's like, oh, you know, they use razor blades to bleed and it's all fake. And I'm like, fuck you. It's real. Like, it's real blood, man. Who would cut themselves with a razor blade? That's fucking stupid. Like, and just like the WCW Nitro was what got me hooked. And it's funny to learn later down the track that that when I got hooked on wrestling was what a lot of people were like, well, that wasn't WCW's best years.
Yeah.
Like that was the like to find out that people like, oh, that was the downfall of WCW. That was when I fell in love. Like Vince Russo doing crazy shit. And like I remember watching, like one of the real surreal moments of wrestling was watching Jeff Jarrett versus Hulk Hogan.
Oh, yeah.
And where Jeff Jarrett laid down, and I was losing my mind. I'm like, what is going on? And then Booker T comes out, and he's, you know, like, don't hate the player, hate the game. And you know, he beats Jeff Jarrett. And like, I just remember like, and a lot of people years later would like shit all over that, like 100%. But man, it enthralled me. And like, what was I, probably, I don't know, 15, 16. And it was just like, it just had me, man. Like they could do nothing wrong, like on wrestling at all. Like I loved Tank Abbott being with 3 Count, like coming out, being their biggest fan. What was the good old boys, like, and their rap is crap, and they made the whole song. And
the West Texas Rednecks.
West Texas Rednecks, yes. And then like the Filthy Animals, like Conan, Rey Mysterio, Billy Kidman, hell, even the Misfits in action. Like looking back, my God, that was something else. Like not good, but at the time, Major Guns, like huge, ridiculous fake boobs, and like like you couldn't live a normal life with something that size attached to your front. You know what I mean? Like that poor woman. But yeah, like it just that was the early days of like what really like grabbed me in wrestling. And then like obviously Stone Cold Steve Austin, man, like anything that dude did. Like when I finally could watch the WF, because they came on. When was that? It was a little bit later. I think you got it on Fox 8. But
they did have it on Fox Sports for a while there too.
Yeah. But yeah, also watching those late night, you know, 30 minutes of heat, like, and the clips. And then it started to, you could get them at video stores. Like they would release the pay-per-views at the video stores, and I started watching them. And that era like the downfall of WCW was what got me into wrestling.
I know a lot of people like to shit on 2000 WCW, but I put that up against anything going today, and I think it's more entertaining for me.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to point out about that time period as well was I'm assuming you're mentioning Bash the Beach 2000. I was listening to a Vince Russo podcast, and he was interviewing God, I can't remember who he was interviewing. And I was listening to it, and he was saying that the thing is, over 20 years, people can't even remember what happened on Raw 2 weeks ago, but 20 years later, people are still talking about what happened at Bash of the Beach 2000.
Yeah.
And
yes. Was that Vampiro and Sting?
I don't know if did that happen that same night? That was the night with the Jarretts laying down for Hogan.
Oh, that one. Yes.
Yeah. But like to people watching that, if you thought, is it real? Is this is that a shoot? So shit like that, I don't know why people shit on it so much, because hey, Booker T got to win the belt, and that's
and deserved it. A long time coming.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So you're growing up, you're a wrestling fan. You just watch it with your dad. Do you have a lot of mates too that are into it? Is wrestling cool in school?
Nope.
Yeah.
It's there was like, I would find a few people, but I wasn't like shouting it from the rooftops. You know what I mean? Like, I would never pretend, like if it came up, I would never pretend that I didn't like it, but it would never be something I would introduce. Like, hey man, I like wrestling. Do you like wrestling too? Because it never went well.
No.
Like I had one friend who I don't see anymore. He was a friend at the time. He was the kind of guy who would get tapes and watch them. He'd make custom wrestling figures. Like he was like really hard into it. And then like I had another friend who sort of would watch wrestling with me occasionally because we were friends. Like he didn't really care, but we would hang and he'd be like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like, but yeah, no, definitely like, yeah, no friends. Like on my younger brother, we would get into it a little, but again, I think it was more that he just wanted to hang out with me and to watch wrestling, would be cool as well. But yeah, mainly the big thing was good memories with my dad. So
yeah, that's cool, man. I know everyone that is a wrestling fan growing up. There's always a stage where they do it at some stage of their life before they try and do anything professionally. Did you ever suplex a mate into a family pool or anything like that? What was the first time you ever did anything like that?
Oh, me and my younger brother used to beat the shit out of each other. Like, and like we'd go into the room and like we'd drag a mattress from his room, chuck it on the floor in my room, and we'd fucking, we couldn't do anything. Like overweight kids, man. Like not crazy overweight, but just not fit kids, and we'd like just throw each other down and like drop an elbow here and there. I remember like we went to the front of our house one time and we're mucking around because there's a bit of a grassed area, and just not thinking, I went to give him a bulldog and he was like, fuck no, and like pushed me as I went, and I just like ass bumped on the grass, and I was like, oh, that was a bad idea. Yeah. But never, that's like mucking around with friends. I did a lot of that, but I never probably with my younger brother, that's probably about it. Like I never got together, which I think would have been cool, like with a group of friends to do our own, like, backyard fed. Like I hear stories of other guys doing backyard feds, and had I had enough friends at that age, 100% would do it. Like,
oh, man.
No, wouldn't think twice.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky at like the age of 12. I had just enough friends that were, we kept it a secret from everyone at school. I had just enough friends to start a little backyard fed on the trampoline and stuff. So
nice.
But for other people, like I've got a friend, Kevin, he said I would have killed to have done that back then, but I just didn't have any mates that would be interested in it. So it's interesting how people's journeys in that aspect, it can either actually happen or it gets stifled depending on, what wrestling's like and how popular it is at school.
Yeah.
I like to think I got pretty lucky with backyarding. Yeah. I fucking had the pretty perfect experience.
Over to you, Jack.
So at what point did you decide this was something you actually wanted to do professionally?
During my younger years, I came up with a plan, man. I had it set, right? I was maybe 12 years old, maybe 13. I don't know. I can't remember the exact years, but like I took some photos of myself, like in some shorts, like flex posing muscles with zero muscles, right? And I had like an old computer and I did up these little, like an outfit thing. And I wrote this like letter, right? I read a letter. I'm like, I'm going to send this to WCW. I'm going to be a little macho. All right.
No
This is, and I did up like a profile dossier and I gave it to my parents. I don't think they ever sent it because I never heard anything back. But I also think that they were kind of like, you know what? Like, we're not going to crush it. We're going to, do the thing like, oh yeah, we'll send it off for you. But I never got a mail back. But I'm kind of glad because, if I could find that now, I'd be a little bit embarrassed.
Were you sort of
sorry, go on.
Oh, were you just running out to the mailbox every day after school and just looking for it?
100%. Like, but not again with that whole cool like demeanor of like, yeah, whatever, like, don't tell anyone. But secretly inside, I'm like exploding. Like, is it? No, okay, cool. No, it's cool. I've died a little, but it's cool. But then I was because in Perth there was no such thing as live wrestling.
No,
like as you guys know, forever. And like later on there was two different shows, Superstars of Wrestling.
Yeah, I went to that.
World Wrestling All-Stars.
Yeah.
So one of them, there's something dodgy about the tickets. They postponed or whatever, so I missed out on one of them. Because there was about 3. Superstars of Wrestling, I think, came twice.
Yeah, I think the second one got canned at the last second or something like that. Because I think Ultimate Warrior was supposed to be on that tour.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But the one I saw the one had like Nathan Jones versus Brian Lawler.
That must have been WWA.
Yes, and then the other one was Scott Steiner. So I remember being in the crowd, and I'm a huge Scott Steiner mark.
Oh, me too, bro.
And that was like epic to see Scott Steiner there. But I actually know that the standout match of that night was actually Norman Smiley versus Crowbar. Because they fought all around the building and went through a table like a few steps away from me, right? And Disco Inferno. My first chant I ever started in wrestling was a Disco Sucks chant. And you have no idea how proud I was of myself at that moment. Like it was like a defining moment of my life for a 16-year-old boy. So, but all that said, there was these guys in the crowd of one of the shows. I can't remember exactly which one. And the shirt said ECW, but not ECW like Extreme Championship Wrestling. This was Explosive Coastal Wrestling. Yeah. And there's a group of guys and they're all doing these chants. They've all got these same shirts. And I was like, hey, that's really cool. And they had a website at the bottom and it was ecwperth.com. And I was like, fuck yeah, 16 years old. I'm on the computer. I'm like, what can I find out? Is that wrestling here? Like, what can I be a part of this? And I was on their forums for about a year as this little 16-year-old kid thinking I knew everything about wrestling, and I would have been so annoying. Like the guys moderating it would have been like, holy shit. And this guy just like, go away. And then I found, because I could never get there. Didn't have a license and stuff like, but a friend of mine was dating someone who was related to Richter or something like that, like a friend of a friend of a friend. And like, oh yeah, come watch this wrestling show. And it was Reawakening 3.
Ooh.
I think in 2002 at the Margaret Cockman Pavilion. And I went there, I'm standing in line, there's all those people and there's anticipation, it builds up. I went in and I'm watching the show and I'm having a great fucking time, man. Like this is live wrestling. It's a tiny little shed and I'm sitting there, I'm going nuts, like getting in all the chants and stuff. And then halftime, they're like, if anyone wants to sign up to train to become a professional wrestler, please go to the canteen and see him. I was there and signed up for it that second. I didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't know where it was, but I was like, I have to do this, right?
Yeah.
And then in my mind, I'm like, this is going to be so sick. I'm going to rock up. I'm going to powerbomb some people. I'm going to like stunners and rock bottoms, and I'm going to be the champion. This is going to be great. And I was very wrong.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Sort of to answer your question, I think I decided like when I was about 10, 11, 12, around that area. But then it wasn't like, it was never like, oh, that's it. I'm going to go fly to America and learn, or fly to Mexico or Japan, or it was just when it came up, explosive coastal wrestling, that I could train. I was like, that's it. I'm doing it. Yeah.
So talk to me about your first day at the Dynamite factory. Was there any early struggles you may have had in training, or was it like taking it to like a duck to water?
There was, yeah, I was not good. So what they used to do is they would have a 2-day training camp. And if you got through that, then they'd be like, they would invite you to actually train.
Yeah.
And I used to like, I wouldn't say I was not fit. Like I used to ride my bike to school every day, but I wasn't a sports person. Like I'm definitely more of have always been more into the theater or TV, or there was a lot of like high school plays and primary school plays and Rocker Stedfords and stuff. So like I wasn't the most unfit person there, but I was far from fit.
Yeah.
So rocking up and like just running was death. Like I was not, definitely not the front of the pack, but I wasn't also the last in the pack. And then learning about bumping, man, I hit my head so many times, like just back bumps and not keeping your head down. And then I remember doing all this cardio and then rolls and bumps. And then there was just an exercise where they were like, oh, you just have to jump up and bring your knees to your chest and then land, right? They called it knees to chest. So, all right. And I was doing okay. Like, I was like, you know what? This sucks. Every second of it sucked. But I was like, I'm going to be a wrestler. Like, I've got to be able to do this. And they're doing this knees to chest. And I think I got 3 in. I was straight out the door vomiting. Like, just throwing my guts up. And then the rest of the day, like, I could come back in and out. And then I remember there was one point, I got through the first day, right? And then I woke up in the morning on the Sunday, ready to go. Like, woke up in the morning, I'm like, this is it, this is the second day. That sucks, but I'm halfway through. And I went to get out of my bed and my legs wouldn't work.
Oh, man.
Like if you've ever gone to the gym and done like a leg day, and like your legs are not doing anything that you're commanding them to. I was just like, what have I signed up for? Like this is dead. I mean, and anyone who's halfway fit could probably have done all this, but 17 years old, like I just had no idea what I was getting myself into. And then the second day, I don't know what it was. I think I hit my head, and I remember just laying on this couch for half of the day in like a daze. Yeah. But then sort of coming back and being part of it. And then I think, because at the end of it, they did this thing where they were doing, like, they wanted you to cut a promo, basically. Yeah. And I think this was my saving grace, because doing the theater and stuff, like, that was not something I was worried about. And to be honest, if you looked back at it now, it probably wasn't great, but a lot of the other guys, they'd be like, all right, now you're having a match against, because at the time they were like, you're about to have a match against Psycho Fett. And so I want you to cut a 30-second promo. And I put on this hokey Italian accent. Like, it was bad. But I ran through this, like, a Psycho Fett, you're a very big man. I'm ready to fight you. Like, but I kept going. Like, I ran with it. Like, it just flowed off my tongue. And like I assume literally from the lack of response they got from everyone else, like the guys were just sort of sitting back looking at me like holy shit, like he can talk, like and so I think that's what got them, because if it just went on my physical ability, I do not think they'd ask me back. But just that confidence and having that little bit of, like, I won't say acting background like I'm a fucking pro actor, but that stage performance background.
Yeah, that would have helped.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so they offered me a spot to go train. And then for the following 9 months, I would show up and, like, I'm going to say they beat the crap out of me, but it wasn't like they were trying to hurt me. Like, it wasn't like they're like, we're going to beat this kid up and he's never coming back. But the physicality that is required in wrestling, they introduced me to it. And I was beaten up, you know what I mean? Bumping, running the ropes. And the ropes at the time as well were actual rope, not rope with tape, not cables with things. It was rope, and the rope burns you would get, and the mat burns, and chipped a few teeth here and there, and just swollen elbows. And yeah, that was my experience. Just physical pain for a long time.
Was there a moment during those 9 months of training where you felt that you turned a corner and that you were starting to really get this and you were getting fitter? Was there a moment that you were like, okay, like this has been hard, but now I'm starting to get there?
Yes and no. Like, it wasn't prevalent. It wasn't like smacking me in the face like, hey man, you've got it now. It was a slow, gradual. And the problem was I had come in at a time when it wasn't like there was anyone else in my group that continued to train. There was guys who had trained before me and who had just been starting to get on shows like Shane Haste, Bobby Marshall, Kyle Steria, Chris Weiss debuted a little bit before me, but then like AZ Vergara, these guys were already in the system. Yeah. So they had pushed through that, and they had like a group to like compete against, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Whereas I came in behind the 8 ball and was constantly trying to catch up to these guys who were already 3, 6, 9 months, a year ahead of me as far as learning and physical ability. Even like 2 years, and then the guys who'd been doing it. And at the same time as well, the guys who run the place had only been doing it for about 2 years.
Yeah.
So you might say the milestone wasn't super high in like in a respect of guys, no, I'm not in there with guys who've been doing it for 20 years. You know what I mean? I mean, there were guys who were doing it for 2 years, but to me, they might as well have been doing it for 20 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the flag post of like achievement just kept just a little bit further. So I'd be doing okay, but there was never like, yep, this is it. I'm good. Like, I'm ready for it. But the thing for me was I understood quite quickly that if I can be good at looking tough and being able to take a beating, they'd be able to use me.
Yeah.
And then like I understood the basic structure of a match early, so I was able to make sense of a lot of things, but I couldn't perform at a level of like, because these guys were doing like 630s, 540s, bloody moonsault, shooting star presses, head scissors. I wasn't like giving the head scissors and the hurricane runners. I was the guy taking them.
Yeah.
So I was good in that sense that all these guys could do this cool stuff, but I would base for them. So I was there and I could not so much make them look good, but help them like work together to make a good match. And I could not make them look shit.
Yeah. Which is important. What I mean? Which is very important.
That's it. And that's where I found my niche, and I kept plugging away in that respect. So while there was moments when I was like, I did achieve, it wasn't for a long time before I was like, I get this, like I fully get this, and I know what to do.
Yeah.
Right. I want to know like who the first guys were that you kind of got along with when you joined the training, and how easy it was for you to start fitting in, even if you were maybe a bit younger than everyone else.
Yeah, it's a funny thing though. I was very similar age it's just they started a little bit before me. Like some guys would like ride in on like buses and trains and stuff or get a lift in, but I had to wait until I got my license, which was 17, and that's when I went in. But the first person I immediately was friends with was Jose Del Santo or Adrian Priest.
Yeah.
Yep.
We became very good friends very quickly. And I think a little on the outside, not in with the main crew of everyone. I mean, everyone was still pretty cool. But guys like Kyle Steria, we used to ride together all the time to and from training. He lived quite close to my house, but far enough away that we never met until we went there.
Yeah.
I mean, I quite easily got along with a lot of people, but still being on that lower echelon, I wasn't what I would call good friends with a lot of people. Chris Weiss as well, we got along really well from the start. Again, because we were down in that, you know, like they started like Jose and Chris started a little bit before me, but it was sort of that tail end.
Yeah.
Trying to think other guys. Jonathan Windsor, Johnny Wimbledon, AZ Vigara, all guys that I got along with pretty well. I had a very deep love-hate relationship with Jamie Jura, because for a while he trained me because of just the times I could get in there. Like we got on well and he did so much for me, but man, he would, if anyone was a brutal trainer, it was Jamie. So we, you know, that sort of like frenemy, like good friends, but like also a bit of hate there because he would beat the shit out of me. But I guess we still got along. But then at the same time, as I started to work with guys like Bobby Marshall and Shane Haste, because they, again, in their earlier times, I would be the guy who would bump and flip not flip, but like bump and take moves and stuff for those guys. And I'm trying to rapidly think who else was around. Dan Moore, he was a referee when he first started. And it's my fault that he became a wrestler, like storyline wise. I punched him in the face at the end of a match and then we had to fight. So, yeah, that was kind of my crew, so to speak.
Cool.
It was a few guys who came and went over time, but they were the main guys who were still around and known of, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a big moment here for you. It's your first match. It's EPW House Show number 11 on the 26th of February, 2005. Against the one and only FN Carnage, aka Tyler Jacobs. How nervous were you for this and how did it go?
Holy shit. So I didn't have gear. Like I had a pair of like, you know, like running, you can buy running tights.
Yeah.
I bought running shorts, just black. I had them, and then Jamie Jura actually lent me just a singlet he had. And it was quite big on him, but it was very fitting for myself. But I came out in like a suit, but not like a Tero one. So it was kind of awkward because I had to fucking half get out of it, right? And I got these boots made by just are in my area. There's like a boot maker. I'm like, hey, I need wrestling boots. He's like, wrestling, like this old wall. He's like, wrestling boots. What do you need wrestling? And I'm like, no, like, he's like, I'm like, you know, they need, but I want them to have like a soft sole, like a running. It's like, I know what you want. It's like a boxing boot. I got this for you. I got this for you. And he had these soles and like hard to get through, but they were like proper leather. And those boots lasted me like 11 years. But like, so I had them. They were probably the best. Wow. Oh no, shit. Sorry, tell a lie. I didn't have them yet. I had Dan Gables. Dan Gables were the first boots I wore. But what I did was I had these fake ass cheap wannabe Rolex. It was like not a Rolex, but it said Rolex. Like, you know, that fake gold stuff you get in Bali. I sure they make it out of $2 coins. I had that chain. I had this like fake gold neck chain, and I was like the sunglasses, trying to be like this baller thing, right? And I'm like, I'm fucking ready. I'm going to do this. And then we get out there, and I've got to take all this stuff off to give to the referees. I can't wrestle in it. And my hands, as I'm taking off the watch and the chain, I'm like, here, man. And the best thing was Carney FN Carnage. He was a professional. He took care of me, gave me a small little hope in there, it went well as your first match can go. I don't remember any specific botches. I just remember coming back and going, I didn't fuck that up. That was cool. So yeah, and you just spun me out knowing that was my very first match. So that's really cool, man.
No worries, bro. It's all a part of my research. I got to do the right thing here. And
yeah.
What a great first opponent for you to have, man.
At the time, that guy was the best there fucking was in Perth wrestling. He was amazing. He's still got something now, but at that time, hard to beat.
Yeah. And it just keeps rolling along here because on about 15 days later or 14 days later, you work a match on March 12th at Playing for Keeps, and you get a win over Chris Weiss. So this is your first main show match, I assume, and were you always the Don from the outset as well?
Yes. Well, actually, we did these little nondescript house shows. They were just let's call it a trainee show, right? And for a long time, because you just get thrown a nickname, right? And because of my dark features, they figured I was Mexican, and I was Joel Del Santo, because Jose Del Santo, they immediately called him Jose. He's part Italian, but they were like, you're Mexican. And then we were the SATs. Just because that's how it worked. You just would get a nickname. You couldn't call for a nickname. But so I did a couple of things as I bought these masks. I was on holiday in LA with my dad, and there was some Mexican wrestling masks. I was like, yeah, I'll grab 2. And we'd come out, and we were the SATs, the Del Santo brothers. But it wasn't an on-show thing. It was more like practice matches. But they would set up. So I wasn't the Don from the outset, truly, but I was as far as actual shows go, because obviously I cut that amazing promo. The training day, they're like, no, you're the Don. But I quickly lost the fake accent because I just couldn't do it well. But yeah, so back to Chris Weiss and that match. That was the first 2 young guys who weren't experienced. You know what I mean? And we did kind of well, except I thought I'd invented a move. It was like a pump handle into a power bomb. And I'd hit it a couple of times okay, and figured I could do it on a show. And then when it came to it, I couldn't perform it so well. I think I hit it well that night. Yeah, we had fun. That was long hair, very, very bright pants, very skinny Chris Weiss.
Yeah, Jack, you would have been blown away if you ever see any footage of early Chris Weiss. Different person. I
think I should get the Vimeo for EPW and go back and watch some of these old matches.
When I showed Ryan and I said, Ryan, that's Chris Weiss, he was like, no, it's not. I'm like, it is. It is.
Yeah.
How much did he weigh around his debut, if anyone knows?
He would have been in the 80s, 80 kilos.
Oh, right, there go my dreams.
That was the heavy, that was probably the heaviest he was at that time. Mm-hmm. Probably I'd say around the high 70s, 80 kilos. But I was in the sort of the low 90s in my early debut, 90 kilos. So I was a bit bigger. At the time I was bigger than Chris Weiss. I'm not so sure you could say that nowadays because he's an animal. Right now, only in Japan. Machine. Yeah, matching machine. Yeah.
I even saw that he's wrestled Masato Tanaka a bunch of times, and when I saw that, I was just like, "Holy shit!"
That's fucking massive, man.
It's huge.
And he's done those bare knuckle fights. I mean, it's not the Chris Weiss show, but he did bare knuckle boxing fights, 2 of them, and he won them both.
Fucking crazy, man.
Yeah,
bare knuckle fights against Japanese people as well, dude. That's some hardcore shit.
He's killing it.
Yeah, take down knuckles, and just one of the toughest sons of bitches I know, and always kind of was like that, but just hadn't built his body yet.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Over to you, Jack.
Yeah, just under 5 months after your debut, you work a match with Jag at Hell or High Water in 2005. What was it like working that match with Jag?
It was that was probably a bit of an eye opener for me. It went from like, because you get together with the guys that you see all the time, and you can plan stuff, and you can go, hey, let's do this that we've been doing at training, or do this. And this was kind of the first time that this guy showed up on the day. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And you got to plan it then, and my first introduction in just not really planning much.
Yeah.
And I remember there's this one point in the match. Obviously nervous because at the time he was the extreme high flyer Jag.
Yeah.
Wasn't as like thick as he is nowadays. But still the mind, you know, he was much more the professional than I was. But we did something and he spun around for a waist lock, picked me up, threw me on the ground and proceeded to just like in the side of my head, just forearm the shit out of me. And it was like, oh wow. Like, I want to say safely, like, because it wasn't damaging, but it was hard enough to be like, oh shit, like,
yeah,
don't fuck around. Like, and then I got to hit him with a spine buster, which to be honest, I thought the whole thing was going to be a squash. But yeah, hit him with a spine buster. We did a couple of things and then it was, you know, I was there to put him over, you know what I mean? Like he just needed a guy to walk over so he could do a promo because he was probably going to fight Dave in a 60-minute Ironman match soon, you know, like that was my job then. But it was, again, that ability to know my strengths and know and understand the basics of a match to be able to do enough to not look out of place. But obviously not like the superstar I thought I was going to be when I first started training, you know, like before I started. Yeah.
Whose idea was it to form the European Union team or faction?
Oh, that's I should know this. Like this should be like I should be able to go. Oh yeah, that's the. I feel like it was like we've got this little English guy and this big guy who looks Italian and pretends to be Italian. Yeah, let's just throw them together because we've got nothing for them. Like, yeah, you guys can be a team. We need someone for GST to beat up. That's not Awesome Inc. So I can't tell you exactly. If you asked Johnny Wimbledon, he would probably remember, but can't remember exactly how it came about. But I remember being keen for it because I'm like, hey, now I've got something. Now I'm doing something. And it was like a sidestep of, because obviously my idea for the Don was like, I'm a mafia boss. You know what I mean? Like that's what it means. But in hindsight now, it's like you don't start anything as a mafia boss. That's not how it is. You start off as a Guido, and you know, you're just a punk who thinks he's tough, and you work your way up to being a mafia boss. Could I have my time again? That's what I wouldn't have been the Don. I would have been, you know, little Mickey Morleone, you know, like
that would have been cool, man.
Yeah, coming out in tracksuits and you know, waving an Italian flag and like, hey, oh, you know, but it went the way it went, but it helped me to like sort of sidestep into something that was not exactly that. So I could still do something different. And Johnny was a great mouthpiece. Like, I don't feel like I specifically needed one, but he was great. He had the English accent and people hated him and he was so little and he was so pale. And I was just the enforcer. And I loved that role, being the enforcer. Like, he would stir things up and then I'd have to go in and sort it out, but I couldn't because the other guys were either quicker or smarter or bigger, and the outfits as well, like the big boiled lolly look with the Italian flag, and it was fun because I was at a stage where it was easy to take the piss out of yourself.
Yeah.
And you never wanted to, but you sort of like, this is where I'm at, you know, like, and you do all the spots that people could laugh at you. Like, I think I'm so tough, but you know, it's quickly shown that I'm not.
Yeah.
and Johnny was the weasel, you know. He would talk a lot of smack and then jump behind me, and then I'd be left to deal with it. But there were some good fun matches that we had with like Chris Fias, AZ Vigara, Carl Steria, Shane Hayes, Bobby Marshall, CJL, Chris J. Lazarus, the GST, the Awesome Inc., and then the Young Guns. I think they didn't have a team, Chris Weiss and AZ, but they were kind of a tag team. But that was all like the young guys and like, let's give them this tag thing. Like, we're doing all the serious stuff like the guys on top, which is fair, you know. Yeah. They had the main title and all that, the tag titles and stuff, and then have these young guys go and fight it out and do some fun stuff. Yeah, European Union was in its infancy. We were the guys that everyone could pay out on.
Yeah,
but it was great fun.
Of course. I can imagine being in a faction or a stable would always be great fun. You're always working with the same people, alongside the same people, and they'd be all working alongside them. So you'd be able to come up with a lot of fun things when you're working with the same people over and over and over. Like when you're tag teaming with them or they're managing you, you'd be able to come up with so many awesome ideas. Especially because you're becoming closer and closer personally with all of them.
Yes.
It's become one of those things where it's like you guys can come up with some awesome ideas and probably more better ideas than what you could normally come up with. But of course, after so long in the tag division, you spend late 2005 till early 2008, and you finally win the belts at Gold Rush 2008. So how'd that feel after it's been this long? And are you still looking to do something a little bit more fresh? Because it has been about three and a half years in the tag division.
Yeah, so the best thing about it was I was the big guy that all the littler guys could jump on.
Yeah.
But then moving away from that, it was with Marcus Pitt joining the team, and he was already like a guy who was in shape.
Yeah.
And it was impressed upon me very heavily that if I could get my body looking more like his, they'd put the tag titles on us. And I tried, man. I tried. It worked okay, but it didn't work as well as I wanted it to. But we eventually, then won the tag team championships. That was moved on to working with Dan Moore and Chase Griffin was what we did a lot more of then. Two guys who were very good in their own right, bit of an odd coupling. But it was different in the sense of the dynamic change to I became almost a little bit more serious, and then Marcus Pitt, the Golden Greek, he was having his time as the guy showing his ass, like getting made fun of, and then Johnny Wimbledon still being the mouthpiece who would smart off, and then we'd have to sort of sort it out. But having that two larger dudes sort of thing, it did make it easier to become a bit more serious in that respect. But the change was I did work hard and get my body to a better place, because it sort of went, as soon as I finished training, I became a bit complacent and wasn't at training as much, and I sort of not let myself go, but wasn't in as good a shape, and then worked our way that way. And then having that sort of peer who was working harder, it sort of pushed me to work a little bit harder. But working alongside Marcus Pitt as well, it was really great. He was the guy that was always pushing harder and pushing further. I kind of fell into this gap of, like I was saying before, of doing what I needed to stay a part of it, but sort of not going above and beyond, if that makes sense. I was like, it's like I knew my spot and I was happy to be there as long as I did what I needed to do to maintain that. And he was a guy who was pushing, and he sort of brought me up, if that makes sense. And there was quite a few times like where we play matches and he would be, oh, we'll do this spot and we'll do that spot, and I've got this cool thing that I can do here. And not every time did it hit, but when it did, it got over really well. But I was consistently like, I'm just going to do this. I know this works, and I know this is definitely something I can definitely do. And I didn't push the envelope. So it was a good mixture in that sense between the two of us, because that pushing on his side definitely brought us up, but my stability kept it so that it wasn't like we fail, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But in doing that, I stayed where I was, And if you could compare like the journeys, he went quickly up.
Yeah.
And I sort of stayed in that sort of, I don't want to say mediocre because I feel like that's a bit hurtful to myself.
Maybe the correct way of saying it's like utility player.
Yeah, I was definitely a utility player.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Like
Yeah.
I served my purpose. I did what was needed. I was there for people to dive onto when they're doing their big dives, and I'd catch them well. But I was not the guy doing the spectacular dives.
Yeah.
So at some point, this is during a period of time where I don't go out to see EPW as much. So I'm not really up to speed on what happened during, I guess, the late 2000s stuff. But I know at some point the European Union did end, and then you joined a faction known as Team All-Star.
Yeah.
Which I did see a little bit of here and there, but I'd only be able to get to maybe 1 or 2 shows a year, unfortunately. But I mean, wanted you to tell me a little bit about Team All Star and that run that you guys had, and you know what the idea was behind that group.
So Team All Star was already a thing,
right?
I remember being at a show at the Venville Rec Centre, and Big Vin and Brad West came out, and Big Vin did a concert of a song called "I'm Gangster." And I saw him doing it, and I was like, I need to do this. I have to be a part of what is happening in the ring right now. He's out there. He's doing a live music. Like, it's not live music because it was like a pre-produced track, but he was actually out there rapping, like, in front of a crowd. And I was like, holy shit, I have to be a part of this. And obviously Marcus Pitt was at a point where he needed to move on. He was going to basically go on and be a 5-time EPW champion. And Johnny Wimbledon, he was going to go like with Marcus Pitt for a while before they would split. I split from the union because I sort of had like a semi-face turn.
Okay.
Where Johnny Wimbledon was going to hit someone with a shoe. And I was like, no, you're not doing that. And then he told me off, and I popped him with the shoe, and I popped Marcus Pitt with the shoe, and they lost the match. And then we had a blow-off match, which is real funny because we'd planned this match out like we were actually good friends. Like, no, because I never hit Marcus Pitt. I hit Johnny Wimbledon, but the distraction caused a loss for him.
Right.
And then we had it set out. It's like, hey, we're good friends, but Johnny Wimbledon's his boss. I'm trying to be like, hey, man, this is not cool. Like, I've decided that being a bad guy is not a good thing. And so we planned this whole thing out where, like, we start off a bit slow, and then he would get aggressive because Johnny was telling him to be aggressive. And then I would be sort of like, not pleading with him, but like, come on, man, I don't want to fight you. And then we ended up having this match, right? And then not knowing what they had planned for the build-up, they put like a little, like, not a hype package, but they were billing it up as this thing. And then everyone was really disappointed when we came back. So, oh, we thought you guys were going to tear each other apart. We thought it was going to be big brawl, like where you're punching on with each other and it was going to be good. And they were real disappointed. I'm like, oh, I didn't think that was the storyline at all. Like,
oh, shit.
So it's not that we had a bad match. It's just the anticipation was for a brutal, like, you know, fist fight, blood everywhere and all that sort of stuff. So that, I was fine with the match, but it's just the response we got, it wasn't as good as I thought. So then we, after watching that Team All-Star thing, I just kept passing. I was like, I want to be in Team All-Star. I want to be in Team All-Star. So I had like maybe one match where I came out as a face and I was going to tag with Jose Del Santo, which as a good friend, like, was kind of cool. But before we even had the match, I turned on him. But they'd been building up like they were going to get him to join Team All-Star. Yeah. Brad West was on him like, hey, man, you should join the crew. You know, we can do good things for you. And he was like, no, I'm cool. And then it was going to be Jose Del Santo and myself against Team All-Star, whoever that happened to be, Sebastian Sander, and could have been either Brad West or Big Vin. Right before the match starts, I jump in, start laying him out. And they come out and they give me a jersey. They put me in team. I put the jacket on, and I'm the coolest guy in the world. And that was the start of my time in Team All-Star. And it was one of the funnest, like at that time, like I enjoyed the European Union, but I felt more comfortable in Team All-Star because as much as I wanted to be the Don and this, you know, like in the European Union, I'm like a foreigner in Australia. This was more like, because I've always been about hip hop music. I've always loved hip hop music and the basketball gear and stuff. So I felt more comfortable in it. So I was definitely all led by Brad West, but I had a lot of input on my own. Big Vin. It was sort of put around Sebastian Sander was like the dude, and I became again another support player.
Yeah.
But I did feel really comfortable there. And then Team All-Star was just so much fun. We made a music track, Call the Cops. We got to perform that on a show. I was out there rapping in all my G gear and like, and just me and Big Vin, and he had this big afro, like a white dude afro, which was like ridiculous. And if it wasn't an afro, it was cornrows. And I had my do-rag on, and I had a little bit of tape on my eye, which was a tribute to Nelly, who was doing a tribute to Left Eye. And it was so funny, like we had this hand signal that we would do. And it all started because they went to take a photo of Big Vin, and he went to throw up like a West Side, like that. But for whatever reason, I don't know what happened, he did that. That became our like West Side, like
Okay.
you know, West Coast, like Team All-Star. That was a thing, and I always come out like that was my sign. And we came out to the Bulls, the Chicago Bulls, when they come out.
Right, of course.
You know, like, so that was we could see they call out our numbers. We had William Darcy, who was the ring announcer for a while, and he would, not the ring announcer, like strictly for Team All-Star, would call them out like, okay, let's hear it for your hometown heroes, and then like, you know, powerhouse and power forward. Like we were a basketball team, but we were wrestlers. Yeah, that was so much fun. And then we ended up with Alex Kingston in the team, and my favorite moment, like I got to have a feud with one of my best friends, Jose Del Santo, and that's where I learned that you can. We set this particular match out because we built this thing up. I turned my back on him, and he wanted to fight me because instead of, you know, joining him, I joined Team All-Star. We had this match, and like we decided, because we're going to brawl through the crowd, I'm like, let's just actually punch each other like as hard as we can, and we fight through the audience and just fuck it. And I had lumps all over my head, like from knuckles, and he had the same thing, and bruises, and like we got backstage, and people like, those shots you guys threw looked kind of weak.
Like, after all that.
We fucked each other up, and they're like, that looks kind of weak. That's when I learned that the work punches are the best ones. You know, like you pull it right back, you make it as big and ridiculous as you can, and it looks much more vicious than actually just punching on. So we had that feud, and then he ended up joining the Blackest Hour.
Right, yeah.
Which was like the ultimate bad guy goth team. They had the cool jackets and all black and a little bit of face paint, but not really, like, and the whole crux of that was they took Jose Del Santo under his wing, and then there was vengeance for I don't know, the Team All-Star fucking basically destroying Jose Del Santo, and it came to a head in the first ever Riot Den match.
Oh, right. Shit. So you guys were in the first one. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
I've been in all of them.
Really? Okay. Fuck. Because I'm going to ask about one of them later on, but please talk about the Riot Den, bro. That's some cutting edge shit as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, man. So cool. I can't take any credit for the idea of it. Because that was Rick Sanders I believe him, Brad West, possibly even Devlin Reeves as well, because he was in the Blackest Hour. Those guys sort of were the masterminds behind all the feuds and all that. Most of my stuff was just sort of what I did. They'd give me direction, and I'd be like, all right, cool, I'm going to do some of this shit. But that team, when we eventually turned face, only because they hated the Blackest Hour more than they hated us.
Right.
That was probably the first massive feud that had a big build, and again, that was a lot down to Brad Weston and Rick Sanders. The promos, the vignettes, the videos, the in-ring like matches that would build up to the Riot Den, and then just the way the whole Riot Den played out, like one guy every minute or 2 minutes, I can't remember at the time, and then like the way it came out, like it'd be good guy versus bad guy, and then a bad guy would come out, so it was 2-on-1 against the good guy, and then another good guy would come out and they'd have like a bit of that, and then it would stack in the odds against the good guys again, and then finally everyone's out there, 5-on-5, 5-on-5, 4-on-4, Brad West, Big Vin, Sebastian Sander, myself, 4-on-4, sorry.
Yeah.
And then after it's sort of broken down, it's a 4-on-4, then the lights go out, and then the announcer jumps on the microphone, release the weapons, and the crowd moves shit. And then we all stop and look around and start scrambling for the weapons, and weapons start coming out, and thumbtacks and chairs, and I remember I was running to do a suicide dive was my thing that I'd been able to do. I just learned how to do it, and I did it in every match. And I ran out, and Devlin Reeves smashed my face with a chair, so I ate shit on that and fell down. And I took a choke slam from the apron through a table on the outside. And just, it was kendo sticks and just the hype behind it. 45 minutes that whole thing went for. And that's hard to hold an audience for that long. I know movies that can't hold an audience for that long. They turn off 10 minutes in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to hold a live crowd for that long, and they were into it. They were making lots of noise, and they were loving it. And then at the end, to have everyone, lose their shit. That was the sort of biggest moment at that point of my career.
That's awesome, man. Jack, I think we're going to have to take a little trip down memory lane on the EPW Vimeo, because there's a lot of shit that I think I have missed out on, and something like that I definitely need to see.
I definitely need to see that.
If you can, look at the YouTube, like the build-up stuff, and then the actual match. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, no.
I've only seen the one Riot Den match, and it was fucking sick. And that was was it the most recent one, Carl?
It was, and I'm going to bring that up later, because either me or you'll be bringing it up later. But yeah, I'm sure there's a big story behind that one, which we'll get to.
Just quickly as well, before we go into that, I was a broken man going into that first Riot Den. I injured my back, man, that was. But the show goes on. But I remember pulling like a couple of guys aside and saying, hey, look, if I stop moving for whatever reason, I've hurt my back. All right. Like, so just so you're aware. And like the guys being like, what the fuck? And I'm like, no, it's okay. Like, I'm okay, but I've had some real bad back problems. Like if I just stop moving, it's probably my back. All right. So
I know all about back problems, bro. I only just got over having a real bad issue with it for the last 2 years.
Jeez.
It's the worst thing. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, except maybe Donald Trump. So for most part, I mean, you do work a lot of single stuff during a lot of this period, but you do work mainly in tag teams from just what I could see in my research. But after 6 years, European Union, Team All-Star, factions, tag teams, you're getting sick of it at some point. Are you looking ahead and thinking at some point it will be great once I'm past all this to be on my own and do my own thing? What's like kind of your thought process at that point?
At this point, it's sort of, like, it's hard to say because me now, I'm like, yeah, no, it's fine. But there's a good chance at the time, I was like, man, like, I should be like, Sebastian Sander was going for he was going for the EPW title. And I kind of felt like, then I started moving towards the hardcore championship.
Yeah.
And I felt like, all right, this is my niche now. Like, I found what, like, I'm not on that level. I'm not the guy who's going to be fighting Bobby Marshall, David Storm, Sebastian Sander. I think even at the time, who else was around the title scene? I think maybe even Shane Hayes was still in Perth.
Yeah.
And around that scene, I was just like, you know what? That's not where I'm at.
You're not ready yet.
This hardcore thing, like, I think I can do some cool shit with that. Like, I'm dumb enough to hurt myself and be okay with that. Like, I can hurt myself in many ways, and that's cool. Like, yeah. So, like, I think from that point, after that I start moving off from the tag stuff and the group stuff. Even though we're still in a group, I started sliding over to the hardcore division.
Yeah. Man, you must have been excited to go singles and have a bit more of a spotlight on yourself. Because like when you enter the hardcore division, and I remember a bit of this, I didn't get to see all of it, but a lot of times I was there, I did get to see you do your thing. And I would say it's one of like your most, I mean, the word famous is weird to say, but one of like your best runs that you had during your time in EPW. How did you feel about it? And before we even talk about that Vendetta 2012 ladder match with Bobby Marshall,
oh shit!
You know, what was some of the hectic, eye-opening moments early on in the hardcore division?
So with the hardcore stuff, there had been like a level set at this point.
Right.
Like there was some crazy matches that were going on. Like again, another guy, like the guy who I started off with, my first match, FN Carnage, he was high up. He was killing it in the scene. He was having these crazy bleed everywhere matches with Chase Griffin.
Oh man, I saw one of those matches where he kicked the guardrail into the side of his head, and
yeah,
Chase was like bleeding like Eddie Guerrero against.
Yeah.
It was fucked up, Jack. You got to check that out too, bro.
See, I didn't watch it now.
Man, it's fucking crazy. You got to see it. Anyway, keep going, bro.
And then like I think Bobby Marshall has it at the moment, like, or he's in that mix, and he has what has been touted as quite a match, like especially for that one spot where they do the suplex from the top onto the ladders, Bobby Marshall versus Gavin McGavin.
Oh, that's fucked. Yeah, it's a crazy match.
Yeah. So the level had been set, like there was like, and Crackerjack had been recently over, and he was the guy at the time. He's like, I don't do the fluff hardcore. He's like barbed wire and no fucking around. Like he was like, the level was pretty high. And I'm like, you know what, I can hang with this. But the more serious, like at the time, I would not put my hands up for chair shots. I'd be like, I'll wear that shit. I would like trash cans were sort of like, they were okay, but they weren't crazy. Like I hadn't really, well, there was a time when I hadn't really fully busted my cherry, if you will, in proper hardcore until that match. But the build up to that and where I went wrong in the match for Vendetta is, in wrestling, you got to tell a story. All right, you got to say, all right, there's a good guy and a bad guy, and what are their motivations? Why are they doing it? I went into that match and I'm like, the level has been set. I want to fuck myself up more than anyone else has ever fucked themselves up in a wrestling match. And I'm pretty sure I achieved that. Yes. Like in Perth. That wasn't exactly my intention to go that far.
Yeah.
But all it was like, what's the next big spot? What's the next big thing that I can do that people will remember?
And Jack, you have a personal story from that night, right?
Yes. That show as a whole, Vendetta 2012, is still to this day. I don't care. Reawakening, any Schwa show, any AAW show that I went to, any show that happened in Perth that I've been to.
Definitely not AAW, bro.
No, not a fucking chance. Not a fucking chance. I could honestly do a whole podcast on AAW, but that's a whole fucking day.
That's another day.
Fucking. That was probably one of the best shows I've ever seen live, and that's only just due to 2 matches. And that was first of all the best tag team match I've ever seen to this day, which was TMDK versus Chase Griffin and Dan Moore. I don't know how long that match went for. It felt like 45 minutes, and it was just a fucking masterpiece. And then of course the match with you and Bobby Marshall, which ended pretty bad. And I remember being pretty shook from that match after it because of obviously seeing someone having a fit in the middle of the ring after a spot like that. We'd also heard at the time that you were actually meant to go over in that match. So after that show, after that match, how did that change you as a performer? Did that make you more cautious in the ring? And was our friend who was at the time training at the Dynamite factory that told us, was he right?
So there's a lot of things about that match that went wrong.
Yeah.
One being the finish.
Mm-hmm.
And we were so close. You have no idea how close we were to finishing it, right? But again, the thing I did wrong with that match is together we planned it as like, and Bobby Marshall was done with hardcore wrestling. He was just like, he just wanted to get through this match, and he pretty much was like, I never want to wrestle hardcore matches again. Like, he was done with it. So he was just kind of like, yeah, man, we'll do that. Yeah, cool, we'll do that. Like, he was very much like, and your friend was correct. I was supposed to go over in that match.
Yeah.
It was my first singles main event, and it was my first singles championship match. And it was supposed to be, my crowning moment.
Yeah.
But it was not to be. And the big problem was just not knowing when to go, hey, you know what? Shit's gotten fucked up. Let's just go home. You know what I mean? And the first small mistake was just early in the match. Bob just pushed the ladder at me, just threw it at me. He was standing, pushed it at me, cut me across the top of the head, just nicked me. And I was like, oh shit, carried on. That wasn't too bad. Carried on. And then we moved on to this part where I put the ladder down, I scooped him onto it. And my plan was, I'm like, I want to dive onto him, but I feel like a back senton. If I hit a back senton, I'll be sweet, because I can sort of like land with my ass on the floor, hit him with my back. It's not too damaging for him. It's not too damaging for me, but it's a dude jumping off and landing on another dude on a ladder. Yeah. But he was going to move. So I'm like, sweet, I'll just fucking wear it on my back. Not too bad, because I'm hitting the floor first. But this is where, if you're going to do something in wrestling, you have to commit. Don't half-ass it. So I got up there, I jumped, and I went, oh shit, this is going to suck. I put my hands out either side, and it ended up more like a leg drop, and my hand hit a little support thing on the side of the ladder, and it just split my hand open straight to the bottom.
Fucking hell.
I don't know if you can see the lighting's probably not good, but that's the...
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
There. And I've hit it, and I've gone, oh, fuck, that hurts. And I'm like, all right, next spot. I'm moving over here. I'm going to dump him over the top to drop him onto a ladder. And if you watch the footage back, it's just flowing. And then as he goes up and over, that's kind of when I noticed, because it's like a rain of blood.
Oh, fuck, man.
And I was like, oh, shit. And I looked down, and I can see the bone. I was like, that's not good. And so I turned to the guys outside. I'm like, I just need something to wrap it up with. And they're like, oh, I don't have anything. And I'm like,
fuck's sake.
Have medical equipment, like, oh, here you go. Here's a bandage. And they had like a money bag. Like, those bags you put in as you go banking? Yeah. And I'm like, give me that. So I just wrap that up. And I'm holding like this piece of thing in my hand. And we keep going.
Shit.
And eventually they get me some tape, and I'm like, fuck yeah, let's tape that shit up. And then we move on. I dive. I'm supposed to dive off the top onto him. He's on a table. But I'm like, maybe we'll just go from the second. It's still to the floor. It's still pretty big. And the next thing, we go up the ladder. Supposed to give him a big DDT off the ladder. And I'm like, this can't go too wrong. But for some reason, timing-wise, as we've come down, his body's twisted, and he's bumped with his knee right on top of my nose in the middle of my head.
Jesus, it's just getting worse and worse.
And it's hit me. And if you've ever had your bell rung, there's a specific like feeling and you're just like, oh shit. And I remember like turning and just feeling like my body was in slow motion. I'm like, oh, that sucks so bad. But I think what's happened there is I've like burst a couple of vessels maybe in the back of my nose. So there's a little bit of taste of blood in the back of my throat. And we're nearly home now. So we're not far away. All I've got to do is he's going to do a leg drop on me through a table. And what we've done is, because we're both big boys, we bought specifically thicker tables. And the tables, the legs, we used a weird setup like a sawhorse because we couldn't get normal table legs.
Yeah.
So these tables are heavy. He's done the leg drop. And Woods come around and smacked me on the face as well.
Oh, shit.
And I think that's when I was out.
Yeah.
And then he's supposed to climb the ladder. I push the ladder. He eats shit. I climb the ladder and win. But yeah, he climbs the ladder. No, he goes to move me and I'm out. And he's hoping I'm obviously gonna get up and get the thing, knock him off. But as he's going to pick me up, I'm fucking stiff as a ball. I'd started doing the fit.
Yeah.
And it's funny, someone backstage had told me later, they're like, wow, man, that is a really shitty Devon Dudley cell. Like, that is so...
Oh, fuck off.
I thought that, not knowing.
Yeah, of course.
Then to come realize I was actually seizing, and I believe it was because the blood had flowed and covered my throat, and like I couldn't get oxygen. Yep. But Bob's gone to pick me up and like move me, and I'm not moving, and he's turned me over. If you look really closely, you can see like shit come out of my mouth, and I think that probably saved my life. Because I don't know. I've only seen it back. I have very little memory of this particular moment. And then he's at the top of the ladder, and he's like, for fuck's sake, not really knowing the severity of the situation. Just like, this did not go the way it's supposed to. And I feel for the guy, because I could not imagine what it would be like to be in the ring and someone's, having a seizure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're not doing well. And then, I think they've obviously shut the show down, kicked everyone out, paramedics, and I've woken up and fucking Jose Dos Santos standing over me as I wake up. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And then I was like, he's like, hey man, good work. And I was like, did I win? He's like, nah, buddy.
Fucking hell.
That match is fucking, it's 8 years now. It would have been 8 years as of the week that's just passed. And that match, I was 15 years old. I was in the crowd. I was front row. I was with Dan Zeppelin and Jacob. So if you can try to spot us in the crowd, you would have seen a little young me. But that match has really stuck with me. Still to this day, man. Like just the visual of you sort of in the middle of the ring on the table, just seizing was just, it's fucked. And I remember going to school that Monday, and a lot of kids at school knew I was doing backyard wrestling and all this shit, and they knew I was a massive wrestling fan. And this was one of those. Believe it or not, that match became one of the examples of why wrestling isn't fake. Like I would start to tell people that spot and that match that you had with Bobby Marshall, and so it's just like still to this day, man. Like I haven't watched it I've not seen it back since actually watching it happen.
Oh man, we got to do like a watch along or something sometime.
I need I'm keen. You guys want to do it?
If EPW will allow us to put the footage in our channel, it'll be great to do a little watch along.
It's just fucking insane, man. And good to see that you actually, no, it was only a month earlier as well. The same thing happened to Adrian Priest, I think it was.
Yeah, he similar. He didn't seize, but he was knocked out and was snoring hard.
Yeah, that's fucking scary.
Right.
That was a plastic chair swung really hard to his head.
Was it from
again?
Yeah.
This was the level of like intensity that was around any kind of hardcore stuff at the time. Like guys were just pushing that envelope, trying to do something a bit more. And that particular moment wasn't a huge moment, but it was just like, well, I don't think it was supposed to obviously hit him that way. Yeah. But yeah, it was unfortunate.
Yeah, man.
How was the sorry to cut you off, Jack. How was the fallout after the match? Like once you came to like the injuries that you had suffered, how long did it take for you to feel normal again?
Actually, pretty quick.
Okay.
Like I went to the hospital, and I was there overnight, and then the next day, and no, I was it there that I was there that night, and they'd stitched up my hand, and had checked me, given me brain scans, and I was there the following day, and they were trying to tell me that I'd have to wait another day for the doctor to come and like sign me out and check me out of the hospital. And I was like, I'm good. I'm gonna check myself out. You know, I'd been scanned, I'd been stitched, I had a cast, not like a proper cast, you know, those little plastic.
Yeah, the little one.
Yep. Yeah. They hadn't had me that yet. They actually had a proper cast on it at first, sorry. And I ended up getting that. And then, I was just like, man, I'm just going to sit here. Like, I'm fine. Like, just wanted to go home. Like, went home. And then the only thing was the stitches that like, I didn't want to wrestle with the stitches in because they put like 12 internal and like 6 external to put it all back together. And I've got, you know, that's all fine. I actually ended up having, no real problems after that.
Good.
It was just, I did think in a way, like just less stuff to the head. Do you know what I mean? Like, not that it was intentionally a lot of the stuff that happened to my head, but just after having that, I was like, yeah, put my hands up. Like you'll notice the cage match where I had more recently, a couple of years ago now with Gavin McGavin, Hayden Zenith swung the chair, and that would have been a kind of moment where it could have been cool to like just wear it. I was like, nope, hands.
Yeah. No, good call, man.
Definitely.
And eventually you do win the hardcore title, right?
Yes.
I can imagine Bobby pulling the belt down when you couldn't continue the match going, fuck, I'm going to end up having to do another one of these. Just when you think I'm out, they pulled me back in.
I remember he looked like he just had no idea what to do. He was stood on top of the ladder for a solid 20, 30 seconds just watching you. And he was looking around the crowd, looking at backstage, just waiting for fucking something to do. And
something.
He just didn't want to have to have another hardcore match.
Yeah. And then before he pulls the belt down, he said something like, suck my fucking dick, and just pulls the fucking belt down. Something like that. He was not happy with him.
Anyway, sorry to keep cutting you off, Jack.
No, of course, in November 2014, the hardcore title was finally retired. Were you happy with how it ended? And how was it? How did you feel about it ending with Lukey, of all people, becoming the last champion?
Hey, man, I love Lukey. Lukey is... like, again, another super fun time in wrestling, but that was a frustrating period, the $3,000 challenge, that whole thing, because I wanted to wrestle. Like, I wanted to have matches. I wanted to get back into it. I wanted to go hard because I'd been having matches, like, as the hardcore champ. And then the booking had changed. And the particular booker at the time didn't like hardcore matches at all.
No.
Like, just did not. And
I can't really think of who it is, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, I don't know if it's appropriate to say who it is, and I have no idea.
If you don't want to, that's okay.
Yeah, I just don't know. So,
okay, that's cool.
It's so we ended up doing this hardcore challenge, and while it was fun, and I got to spend a lot of time on the microphone rather than doing matches, at the same time, I kind of was drawn back to the early years, in the sense of I was having to show my ass again. I went from like solid, strong, like badass kind of, like I came back from the death. You know what I mean? Like I'm fucking, and then to a joke. Which, don't get me wrong, it was so much fun to do, because working with Luke, he's a professional comedian. Like, if it ever comes up, you guys have to go see one of his shows. Like, he's hilarious. But his mind, and then like with me, he had the comedy side and I had the wrestling side, and we sort of gelled and meshed that stuff together. And while I had fun, like we had this whole, the greatest part of the gimmick was it was like he didn't understand like double entendres to words. And he would say shit like, he's like, Don, me and you, we've got this lockdown, but we need another one. We need to make a threesome. I'm like, no, dude, no threesomes. We need a triforce of. He's like, no, we just need another dude to fill the hole. And I'm like, no, we're not filling the hole. He's like, yes, come on, dog. We just need to have a threesome with another dude. And I'm like, it's a triforce of power, Luke. Like, come on, man. And it was great fun. And but I just wanted to wrestle. And it unfortunately, it all kind of built up to like this new guy who then never ended up fucking wrestling anymore. Who kind of finally beat me. But then, then it retiring with Luke, I never found it a problem, in a sense of like him, like the way it came about was quite funny, with the battle royal and him accidentally winning it. But I didn't, it was sort of like I said, I think it's sort of along the same lines as like the original hardcore, like for the WWF, it was like a badass belt and then it became a bit of a joke.
Yeah.
And while it needed to come from that huge level of intense fucking hardcore, it needed to come down from that because it just wasn't like the amount of people I think never went to wrestling again because of my match at Vendetta. Maybe a few, you know what I mean? They just went, that's not what. So it did need to come down a notch, but I just, I went all out with that. Like I had a big fake check made. Like we brought it out on the shows and like it's $3,000 if you can beat me in like musical chairs, and it was all rigged, and we had a photo of like Luke opening a bottle of champagne and it's spraying all over me and like holding it near his dick and like and he had all these things made off. It's like that Don could beat off an army of men and like it was good stuff. Like it's funny like stuff, but mixed emotions, really. Like, great time doing it. There's probably a better way for it to have happened, but it is what it is.
For me, it's kind of just like you guys went through all that, and then it's kind of like someone who didn't. It's like David Arquette winning the WCW title. There we go.
Whoa.
No, that was don't start with that shit, Jack. That was a good thing that happened. I don't give a shit.
Mate,
that was a great movie. And David Arquette's a badass nowadays, man. I'm not going. You can't.
Oh yeah, no. These days, different story. But like,
I'm looking forward to his documentary. That'll be good.
But just trying to. I'm trying to put myself in the position of let's say if I was a wrestling fan, we had I don't know, give me a celebrity for today. Who's a big time actor that isn't The Rock? Because he could actually win the
Tom
WWE
Cruise.
title.
I don't know.
Go like Tom Cruise going in and winning the WWE title right now with no professional wrestling experience. Today, a different story, but that's just me.
But you know what? Lukey was there from day one. Oh, he come on.
Yeah, he was.
Come on.
But how many? Has just a bit of a sidebar. Has Lukey worked any actual proper matches other than maybe a couple with?
I think that might have been the only thing he did. I don't know if he ever.
No, I don't think so. No, that's probably it.
Yeah.
But he'd been around. He was a founding member, and like. And the way it was done as well, it wasn't just like he went in there and beat up a bunch of people.
No, it was a fluke. It was like David Arquette.
Yeah, that's it. Like, and that can make sense, but then to that, it just like, what hardcore title? What are you talking about? That never happened. Like,
if he had like lost it to someone like yourself, or even Bobby Marshall coming back and then retiring the belt, then who gives a shit? But I think it's the fact that it's for me personally, it's just if I was in your shoes, I would have been a bit, hang on, I went through all this shit for this belt. But I think it just still comes down to how you see wrestling, because wrestling is different to everyone.
Yes.
And how everyone sees championships. Because some people don't give a shit about championship lineage or history or value. So I guess it comes down to how you see it. But that being said,
fair point.
Gen Zero, whose idea is this, and how was it decided who would be a part of it?
This is again another like the bookers just don't have shit for me or Hayden, and they're like, yeah, let's just throw these guys together, see what happens. And then Hayden and I worked our asses off, like just like designing stuff and getting the right music and just doing like, again, back to showing our asses, like to being the butt of jokes, but just fucking running hard with it, like going all out and being like, let's just do it.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny the way the idea started was like, I see potential in you, Hayden Zenith, and I'm going to show you that I have faith in you. And I ended up walking out and laying down for him to beat me in a tournament of some sort. But he was on such, at the time, like he had that young upstart hope thing. And he had a match with Sebastian Sander and really like did well. And he previously had that, what was it? The Team Hughesy. What was that? I can't remember.
Team Red Can or something?
Team Red Can. Wasn't he part of that, some sort of feud around that? I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure it was. But he was honestly killing it. Like, little guy, the little underdog. He could have gone and done more, but they didn't have anywhere for him to go. And then myself, it was sort of, not long after doing the hardcore thing, and then finishing that with Lukey, and then they're sort of like, well, we got nothing for you, man. Like, just go be in a tag team. Yeah, which, again, I don't envy the position of a booker.
Because it's hard, man. It's hard to keep slotting, figure out where to slot people in when there's, so many people on the roster at a certain point.
Yeah. And then we just were like, you know what, fuck it. And we went hard. And that was, like I said, I had a lot of fun in a lot of things, but that, like, gelling, Hayden and I gelled so well. We were like, I wouldn't say we're on the same page, but we were definitely in the same book. But we're like, just like ideas that would just flow, and it's like, yeah, okay, we'll do this. Oh, and then we can do that. And then our timing and our just the way we thought about wrestling just gelled so well.
Yep.
And then we were kind of gifted Scotty. Like, they were just kind of like, here, now Scotty's in your team. I'm like, well, that's cool. Like, Scotty was fucking great. He just finished doing his thing with the drop kicks.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of did again. Yeah. And kind of, again, didn't have really anything for him. So they were like, oh, here you go, man. Jump in there. And we had started to gain traction in a way that, like, we're having great matches with Dan Moore and Jared Slate, and what were they called? The Cowboys and Indians.
Oh, yeah.
And it was unfortunate for Scotty because he had quite good singles potential, but he then kind of became our manager. He still had his matches, but then he kind of became our backup guy to help us get through some things, throw the powder, and like, we came up with that as our, like, I think maybe Hayden more than anything.
The red powder, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was Hayden's idea. I was like, fuck yeah, man, let's do that shit. That is fucking gold. And then wasn't until, trying to remember if because had we turned face when Alison Cruz joined? Yeah, we had.
I think you had, yeah. I don't think she was ever a heel.
No, couldn't be. Yeah, we had, and then we kind of turned face against, because the solution.
Yeah.
And our bullshit, our showing our ass was so out of control, like, just over the top. People started, and I hate it when this happens, when you're trying so hard to be just a dumb shit heel, and people just start enjoying it.
Yeah.
Because they'll yell at you and you'll yell back, and they're like, fuck yeah, like, I got him that time. Like, I made him laugh, like, or like, I got his attention, and, I was the most important person there. But they just loved to give a shit so much that we became popular.
Yeah.
Rather than hated. And it was just a weird turn.
It's almost like if you kept staying on heel, you'd be going against the grain. You had to go the direction that it was going in, whether you liked it or not.
Yeah, pretty much. And Hayden was so over the top with his stuff as well. And like, it's funny how like progressive everyone is nowadays, but it's so easy in a crowd to like make everyone boo you. Just slightly allude to homosexuality. Like, and they're all over you, but like, I don't think you could do that same thing now.
No.
Like, but just hugging, and not even really like, we'd hug each other and then you'd hear them start. Like the crowd would just be all over it. But yeah, we didn't care. We just went hard at it. And Hayden and I had gone to Melbourne and Sydney and to tag together. We tagged in Schwa, and I don't think we ever tagged in NHPW. But we were just constantly working together and doing the same things and just blowing it out. And then we had that riot then against was the Headhunters,
Slayton Moore and the Solution.
Yes. And then just stopping the solution, instead of helping the solution and attacking the solution, that was it. Bang. They fucking loved us.
Right.
Like, that's all it was. Just one split-second decision, and it was, yep, they're our guys now, which was cool as shit.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to tell us the story of that fateful four-way Riot Den match. This is kind of similar to, you were supposed to win the hardcore title. I believe the Headhunters were supposed to win the tag titles here, but
yes, they were.
A few injuries took place in the match. What happened? You know, how do you fucking figure out what to do when shit goes down like this and you're going to have to change the finish on the fly? Tell me about what the hell, from your point of view, what the hell happened?
So we're in there, we're doing our thing, and just, run into what it's supposed to be, telling the story of Dan Moore and Jared Slater, the big super baby faces. The Solution had just sort of being this fucking annoying people that attack everywhere. And the Headhunters, they were sort of on the rise. And it's funny, when they released the weapons, someone, Dan Steele, came up behind Hayden Zenith to like start doing something, and Hayden's just gone to turn around to get him, and he's just bang, clocked him in the nose, and he split open. And I think if he just went into like protection mode, and Dan just left the cage. Like, you're supposed to be locked in, but he's just gone, I'm going to go get some medical attention. I think that, that automatic, like, hey, shit, I'm going to look after myself, which I didn't do in my ladder match. And then he's come back. And then there's a spot where Twitch has come over and given me something, and he's supposed to turn around and run and dive over the top rope to the outside in the corner onto AZ Vergara and the Warship. And AZ's on the wrong side of, they've got a table set up that's for something else later. And AZ's like, this table is exactly the width between the ring and the cage. I need to get around here. And he's like, and Twitch starts running, and Warship's on the other side, but he's not in place. But like, I don't know exactly what on there. And Twitch is just dive straight over the top and landed on the floor and broke his collarbone.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just timing, positioning, and just, there was no one there for him, which sucks, because that's the biggest thing about dives, man. Someone's got to be there. Yeah. And then, so he's broken his collarbone. He's lying on the floor like, I broke my collarbone. And the referee's like, are you okay? He's like, I broke my collarbone. And they're like, shit. And then Twitch is supposed to then come back in the ring, and he's not in the ring. And I'm like, oh, shit, all right, we've got to do something else. And we sort of went to move on, and we had a finishing sequence that involved them coming in again later. Obviously he wasn't, but the referee comes up to me and goes, Twitch is out, Gen 0 to go over. And I was like, well, I guess that's what's happening. Like, I don't know who we talked to, but I'm like, referee's the man. He's obviously talked to someone. So we've gone in, we started working, and then, finished, called the finish, our finish through the table, the 0-0, which was called the 0-0 when Scotty was involved, because you need to call an ambulance for someone. But the 0-0, because there was only two of us still on the move, running knee into a flapjack off the shoulders.
Yeah.
Through the table, and then we just finished it. Went over the because I think the headhunters were supposed to go over the solution, so we just sort of changed position there, and that was like, it sucked because that was like, those guys had worked hard and had built up and were ready, to be champions, but it's like same with my match, like it just didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't eventuate, so then we went on to win the tag titles and had a bit of a run after that, and that led us into the solution.
Right. Did Twitch ever wrestle again after that?
He did, but I think work commitments and obviously the broken collarbone made it a bit harder to get in there.
Right. Twitch made for very good enhancement talent back in the day.
Oh, I remember him.
Fucking
amazing.
Oh, he was incredible at taking some of those bumps that just, because guys were just throwing this guy around back in the day. Around 2012, man, I mean, so many shows were just open with Twitch just getting his ass fucking kicked. I loved it.
You're all good there, Don. You got to readjust your.
I had to readjust. I had to plug in some power because my iPad is down to 10%, but I think it'll be good.
Okay, cool. So you're having the run with the tag titles. You're having your feud with the Solution. Things are going quite well, but I want to fast forward a little bit. When did you first find out that finally, after 12 long years, that you were going to be becoming the EPW champion at Reawakening 16?
Huge.
It's a weird one because I don't believe anything until it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like the amount of times in wrestling, they're like, "Oh, this is going to happen," and it doesn't happen. So I've always put very little stock in hearing anything in wrestling. It's always just like, okay, that sounds like a really cool idea, but until it happens, especially again after what happened in the other match, I'm going to reserve my judgment. But it was definitely one of those things where I'm like, it's not like someone comes up and they're like, "Hey man, you've done a lot of hard work and we're really proud of what you've been doing. And as a reward, this is what's going to happen." It's kind of like, yeah, well, you're going to be facing David Storm and, we'll see how we probably go over. And I was like, "Oh my God, yeah, cool. Sounds good."
Right. Yeah.
Sounds like a cool idea, man. Like, and then, working through it, getting there. And then it's such a weird thing as well because having that attitude and then it's never about the end. It's about getting there, if that makes sense. It's like, all right, we've still got this match to do. It's still got to be, this is the main event. This is title opportunity. It can't just be any other match. It's got to really, and it's Reawakening. So there's all these levels, first EPW championship, facing David Storm, the guy who started, the whole thing, and again, Reawakening is the biggest show. It's our WrestleMania, it's fucking all these levels, and to just try and be like, don't fuck up, like, don't go out there and have that match, and everyone's like, yeah, man, that was the worst main event of Reawakening we've ever had. Especially that bit where you fucked up. So it's the pressure's there, but it's just doing the work and working hard to make sure that, presentability, like being able to hit all your stuff and to look like a champion and act like a champion and move in the ring like a champion, because that's what you're trying to portray. It's and like you're saying before, Jack, for some people it's like, it's just a job, that's what I'm doing. But it was a long time. There's something that I'd always aspired to, but I was just like, I have to make it something special. Yeah. So and it was tough. And again, not believing it till I got there. And the moment of it finishing, like, you know how I don't know about you guys, but if you ever see anyone like win a match and then cry,
yeah,
I don't know about you guys, but me, I'm like, fuck off.
Yeah.
You know, do your job. Like, shut up. Like, don't cry. And then when I did, I proceeded to cry like a little bitch. Like, so it's emotional because you're just trying to get through it, and you're trying to make sure everything looks good. And then when it's finally finished, you're like, holy shit, like I did it. Like, didn't fuck it up. Like I made sure I mean, there's all these guys backstage that if I shit the bed, I make them look bad too, because they don't want this.
Yeah.
You know, they if I make this not look like it's worth it, then I'm making all of the stuff they do look like it's not worth it. And the guy I'm like Dave, you know, other people he still have a good show, but David Storm, like he's, you know, and don't get me wrong, there's other people that help build EPW, but that's been synonymous with it since day one, and the most passionate about the whole thing, to the point of like, you know, not too far, but almost like, hey man, like calm down. Like he's just that passionate about it and can easily bring that out of you. And that's, I think, a big hinging part of what helped with me as well. Like to bring that out of me was having that guy on the other side who was like almost the same, like, don't you fuck this up, because it means a shit ton to me, you know? And it was even better to be able to share it with my son as well, to be able to have him, you know, jump in the ring with me and just share that moment, like, be a proud dad, like a role model, you know what I mean? Like, and to be able to achieve something.
Yeah.
In life. Well, like it meant a shit ton to me. Like it's so much. And for everyone who'd won it before as well, to hold that up and be like, yeah, like I see you guys, you know, like I'm not pretending like I'm better. I'm not pretending like it didn't count. I'm like, that all counted. And so does this, you know?
Yeah, man.
I think that's one thing I really love about the moment someone wins their first world title, or, you know, EPW title, etc. I love that journeyman, that it takes them years, you know, the blah, blah year long journey has finally culminated in him winning the WWF championship. You know, like that story to me was always the most perfect way to end WrestleMania. And for many years, that hadn't really happened. You know, a lot of like Roman Reigns, etc., they won the belt quite early on. That wasn't like there was this journey, or like Sheamus. I think he won at the first pay-per-view that he wrestled
TLC
at.
2009.
Yeah, you know,
No.
like I and like we finally got that again with Drew McIntyre. And it's the same with you, Don. Like, to me, I was standing in the drinking section that night watching this happen, knowing how much it meant to you, and that it was 12 years of hard work that paid off in the end. So, you know, I'm really happy that you got to have that moment and share it with your son.
Thanks, man.
And you talk about as well, like, you know, at the start, how on your first day of training, you weren't ready. You're throwing up out the back after a couple of,
Yeah.
you know, needed chests. So it's like, you know, it's one of those things that you can look back on the whole thing and just be like, holy shit, I did that. It's something to be proud of, even if it's like, you know, you didn't make fucking $1 million out of it.
No, yeah.
It's the memories, man. It's I think that's a lot more important. Would have been a very special moment.
Oh yeah.
So as soon after this Gen Zero split, so how did you feel about that?
It was one of those things where I love the fact that it ended between me and Hayden, because we started it. It was very bittersweet because at the same time I had gone on and gone up.
Yeah.
And I feel like Hayden was along with me as well, and like he had improved. Like he was already good, and I feel like he only got better throughout the whole course of our thing. And the storyline was perfect. Like I moved on and sort of left him sort of behind, if that makes sense. As Scotty won the Coastal Championship and was moving that way, and he was teaming with Allison Cruz, and it was all a very good catalyst for the way it went. Like if I could tag team with him again tomorrow, I'd do it. Like it was always so much fun, but it just I feel like it was time. Like there wasn't much we could do from that point with Generation Zero.
Yeah.
We had kind of been through and done it all. And I was, it didn't work out that way. I was hoping for, to have a title match with Hayden, to sort of like have that, I mean, the feud itself was huge enough. Like, and we had, I thought, and I had been told by other people, like an amazing blow off for that feud. And I would have preferred it to be, again, in the title picture for him, to give him that, like, I want to say, like, give him the rub, you know what I mean? To bring him up to that level so that he could then maintain in that circle. Unfortunately, it didn't go that way. And it's not something neither of us have any control over. But I did really enjoy our match for the blow off of that feud. And Scotty Ryan obviously was doing his kind of own thing. And then Alison Cruz was sort of at the point where she was pretty much thinking of finishing up with wrestling as well.
Such a shame.
Yeah.
She was great.
She was good. Yeah, she was very good. And if she came back tomorrow, she'd be always welcomed. But it's just some people, I think, with the way life goes, you know, you can't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, back to you, Carl. I mean, that was my next question, was what happened to Alison and Scotty, but he just answered it. So
I guess Scotty, life got in the way for him. He decided to move on from wrestling.
Yeah. He at this point, I'm pretty sure he's in England.
Oh, okay. Shit.
Living in England, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sort of, that took him that way. And Alison Cruz has become a mother. So
oh, right, cool.
That takes precedence.
I'm pretty sure I already knew that as well, but I've just got such a bad memory. Congratulations to her. So I wanted to, talk to you about your run, your first one with the EPW Championship. How did it feel to now be the man and now be the main event? And now, this is your run. This is your chance to show that this was a good decision.
It was just, it's as much as, like I was saying before, to win the championship, there was this big, like, making sure that it meant something. At the same time, as weird as it's going to sound, I was doing a lot of the same stuff I had been doing for a while.
Yeah.
It's just for that match, it was elevated. And then with the championship, it was still elevated, but I felt like I was not doing the same thing in the sense of like, I'm just doing the same thing. It was like, it's like I had a formula and it worked really well. And one of my best matches I feel like I've ever had was when Carlo Cannon came over. And he is like he came in and he worked the perfect heel, the perfect bad guy. And it just gelled so well, and he's got such a great wrestling mind, and a great work ethic as well. So we gelled together really well. And there's the stereotypical good guy versus bad guy theme in a lot of wrestling. And it's for me, I find while that's easy, it's what a good show for the fans. Like, they want to have someone, they're like, nah, fuck that guy. And they want to have a guy that's like, yeah, that's my dude. Yeah. And the way that fans are in wrestling as well, it's a tough one as well, because there are people out there who are like, oh, that's the guy you want me to be like, he's the dude? Nah, I don't like him. I don't care who the other dude is, but I have to be the guy who's like, nah, I want the other guy.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly frustrating. But at the same time, it's an obstacle. It's a challenge. And then when you are put in a position where you are against fan favorites as a fan favorite, and this is their moment, like wrestling Gorgeous Gary, like it was, I feel like we had a great match, but at the same time, I'm like, I took his long-term dream. Do you know what I mean? Like he came, that was his glory story coming up, and he was against a fan favorite. So it was like, it was his time, but just the circumstance wasn't good. And that was a difficult one to navigate because I obviously didn't want him to come out and everyone be like, haha, Gary, you're not going to win. But at the same time, I also didn't want the opposite, like, hey, fuck you, Don. Like, Gary's our man, So that was a difficult one to navigate. And then the match with David Storm, again, like round 2, I'll wrestle that guy all day, every day is any opportunity I get. But again, having that opportunity for people to not want me to win when that was almost my formula. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to get these people to the point where they're like, yes, we want this, the Don's our guy. We want him to win. But then you've got David Storm, and at that point, people are like, hey man, he's been our guy for a long time. Sometimes he wasn't our guy, but right now he's our guy. So
you're thrust into these situations where it can be potentially splitting the crowd or potentially having the crowd go for the underdog, which is your opponent.
Yes.
And you want to still stay the top babyface, but it's babyface versus babyface matches, and those situations must be very difficult, as you say.
It's a hard road to navigate, and like a little mistake can send things, in a different direction that you're going for. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to walk away having made I look like a chump. Like, because you want him to still walk away and have fans and have people want to come and see him win, but you still want to walk away and have that. And it's good and bad in a way, because the formula worked for John Cena for a long time. They find a big bad and he has to fight his way. The guy takes it from him or doesn't take it from him, and he kicks that guy out, the big bad. You know what I mean? And then eventually they started turning on him, but it took a long time. Whereas I felt it was starting a little bit to be, and then to face Mikey Nichols. My God. Like, people like Mike. You know what I mean?
They do. He's fresh off NXT television, so.
Man. And he's good. Like, there's no way, like, he's always been that guy. He's one of those guys where you're like, I want to be like Mike, like he's got the look, he's got the size, he's got the ability, and obviously the popularity, especially in Perth, like, and also a worldwide recognition,
Yeah, man.
So I was the underdog, but not the underdog favorite. So it's another really difficult one to navigate. And I had a minor tear in my the meniscus in my knee, and I was just trying to play it off like I was fine, because I can't go into this like, oh hey guys, in case I don't do well, it's my knee, like I just want to be like, no, 100%, I'm good, let's go, let's do this. But I still had that problem with my knee, and having that in the back of my mind, I feel like it threw me off. I feel like I could have done better in that match. Not that I thought it was by any stretch bad or not good, but that niggling knee injury, it just put me off a little bit.
Well, I was there. I saw the match. I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
I didn't notice any problems. That was actually my first show since you won the title. So.
Oh snap!
Yeah, and it's not EPW's fault. I just was burned out on wrestling after Reawakening 16. I'd gone wrestling crazy, and I just needed a break. But I'm definitely ready to get back into coming to the shows. That's for sure.
Yes, I like to hear.
I want to take a quick sidebar here. We haven't got too many questions left on. What was it like working with Ken Shamrock last year?
Holy shit.
I didn't even know about that until
when
today.
When the fuck did that happen?
I was reading on cagematch.net that they were in a tag match, Gen Zero against Shamrock and Carlo Cannon, I think.
Yes.
And I'm like,
fuck did Shamrock come from?
He fucking worked with Shamrock, bro. He's our boy. We love him.
Yeah.
How was that?
Ken, you mean Uncle Ken far out, man. Just the coolest, like, you know, have you ever been in a room with someone where you're like, at any moment, if he wanted to kill me, I could do nothing about it.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a room with someone like that?
Yeah.
Yep, I wrestled an AAW show and I was sat next to Bob Holly in the locker room. So yes.
Yes, and I also hear good things about Bob Holly, but I haven't met
Bob
him.
Holly is great.
He's the best.
But-
We interviewed him, and it's our favorite interview.
He's
like,
fucking awesome.
He was
Awesome.
great. Yeah.
That's great. But you talk to him and you're like, oh, no way, like he's the nicest guy around. But
Exactly.
you're like, I remember seeing The World's Most Dangerous Man, like this, you know, like this is Ken fucking Shamrock, man. Like, but honestly, like the coolest dude, one of the boys, like joking around, like taking the piss, and
So how was the match?
It was like typical, like, hey, holy shit, I just met Ken Shamrock, I'm about to wrestle him. Dude, whatever the fuck we're gonna do, you just tell me. Like, I'm not gonna try and call spots. I'm not gonna try and be like, yeah, let's do this. It's like, Ken, what are we doing, man? Like, fucking, and he's like, oh, you know, we'll do this. And the worst thing was Carlo had recently snapped his tibia or his fibula.
Shit.
So he was not, like, he was back, but he wasn't 100%. So we kind of had to work around that, but he was still a trooper. Like, he still killed it. But we did some stuff with, we basically went straight back to what I was saying before, like showing our asses again, being the dickheads, like, and just like, I took a side, a belly to belly suplex from Shamrock. And I took a punch from him, and those deadly punches, man, he is a fucking worker. Like, it just touched on my forehead, and I sold it like it killed me, because that's just what you do with Ken Shamrock.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And then so yeah, he puts Hayden in the ankle lock. Hayden taps out, and then I think I take a splash from Carlo. I take the side belly to belly, and then I think Hayden takes a splash, and then after the match, we could both get put in an ankle lock. Then even better, right? So that night we leave Melbourne. All of our flights, like everyone in Melbourne was doing, because there was another show in Sydney the next night.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everyone's flight that was flying to Sydney got delayed.
I'm sick.
Oh.
So we went from going to Melbourne and then hanging out, doing that, and then flying to Sydney together. His flight was at like 6 a.m. the next day. My flight, it was like 11 o'clock. So we meet in Sydney a bit later. But then Mad Dog and Vixen, one was supposed to wrestle, Vixen was supposed to wrestle Taya Valkyrie, which is Johnny Nitro's wife.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And her flight got completely like cancelled. Like she was not getting to Sydney. And then Mad Dog was supposed to wrestle Johnny Nitro. And so, they're on the same flight. So these got completely cancelled, and they're like trying to figure out what to do. So we ended up in a 6-man tag match, like no rules, against Carlo Cannon, Ken Shamrock, Taya Valkyrie, and Johnny Nitro.
Fucking hell.
So like, it was just this perfect amalgamation, and Hayden was a mark enough for Ken Shamrock, but then for Johnny Nitro,
Yeah.
he was just like losing his fucking mind, dude. Like, and I like, don't get me wrong, I'm you know, I know who Johnny Nitro is. He's fucking awesome. But for Hayden, it was like next level.
Right. That's
So
crazy.
we end up being in this like 6-man like fight everywhere tag. Hayden gets put in a bin. We suplex Ken Shamrock on the stage. And like, don't get me wrong, I know the dude's not made of like feathers, but I'm like, I don't want to be the guy that like kills Ken Shamrock in fucking Sydney. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, I want to do whatever he asks, but I'm just, you know, I don't want to fuck this up. But we suplex him on the stage, and then he double suplexes us. And then like, we're talking earlier, and he's like, because he just wants to do everything. Like, he's not like the guy you would expect, like the vet, like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Like, I'd heard from other people who had come to Australia. They're like, yeah, nah, kind of not getting paid enough to do that, or whatever it is, you know?
Right.
He's like, so picks up a chair. And he's like, what do you think of this, man? Like, I'm like, yeah, fuck, I'll take it. He's like, no, like, you grab it and hit me with it. I'm like, nah, it's cool, man. He's like, no, fucking hit me with it. I'm like, all right, dude. And then just wailed on him with a chair. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. We'll do that in the match. I'm like, so we get in the match, and I pick up this chair, and I smash Ken Shamrock on the back with a chair, and I turn to the crowd. I'm like, I just hit Ken Shamrock with a chair. And then I look back at him, and then bang, punch in the face. I'm like, sweet, that was my minute.
That was it.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Don, you have accomplished so much in the last 15 years. You've been an EPW tag champion, hardcore champion, EPW champion. You've wrestled almost everyone there is to wrestle. What else do you wish to achieve in EPW?
Did you say in EPW or just in wrestling in general?
I'll get to that after this.
Okay, cool. So, just going to have to put this on because I'm losing. I think that's a bit better.
So that's nice.
So in EPW, I just would love to just storylines, man. Like something that can, like, I can really sink my teeth into. We can build up some crazy hype promos and just have like something I can build up and then have like, because the championship is a big thing. You build up for that championship, but to have a story that is separate from a championship but just as important.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a sense, yeah, like just to have that. They're the kind of things I want from wrestling. That, and I'm I don't know if you've ever heard, there's an Aussie hip hop guy called Bluntfield.
Oh yeah, Paul.
Paul, yeah, sweet.
We played a show together.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, we all
my
did.
band opened for you guys, and he was in the building.
Yes, yes. So I'm currently trying to work with Paul. It's hard because I'm the procrastination king. Working with him, trying to get a new theme song.
Right, cool.
And to have that reawakening, him out there fucking blasting away with the new jam, and as I enter, like the live performance thing again, to come back to, you know, the original, like when I did the performance, but actually have someone, you know, doing my live music intro to the ring.
That's always a dream of, like, when you're a kid watching wrestling, and you watch WrestleMania and Limp Bizkit's playing when Undertaker's going to the ring, or Saliva's playing, or whoever it is doing the theme song as they're going in the ring. That's like one of the coolest things, you know, you can imagine, is to have like that live band or live act playing as you're entering.
Oh yeah,
100%. Yeah, and to also like help new guys, new talent to improve and get better, and be one of those guys that everyone aspires to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So talking about aspirations of going further in wrestling outside of Australia, you know, would you be considering something like that? What is your ultimate goal with wrestling?
Before international, I want to do a lot more in Australia. Like Melbourne scene's pretty hot. The Sydney scene's like that, and Adelaide is like a sleeping fucking giant. Like there is some shit going down in Adelaide, and I've worked with a few of the guys that have come over here. And I hear there's a little bit happening in Queensland. My next massive thing is I have to get to Darwin, and
of course,
Darwin. Like I have to, and then just get a bit. Just more, I mean, I know there's like a bit of whispers about me in the eastern states from the bit I've done in Melbourne and Sydney, but to really become a bigger name across Australia is definitely something I like to do. And then as far as international goes, it's difficult because I had a mortgage, I got a son and a wife, and to uproot them or to spend enough time, because no matter what I fucking do here, like, doesn't matter how big I get here, if I go, it's like starting again. Same with Absolutely. Now, going to Melbourne and Sydney and stuff. I've been to Melbourne a couple of times, but I'm the Don there, but I'm not the Don that they know me as in Perth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I have to not reinvent myself, but reintroduce myself to a new crowd. And while I know I can perform to a level that they will enjoy, it's going international. I'm on even a lower rung again. Like
Yeah.
you basically have to start again, and to be known at any level, I have to go over there and put in the work. Like you look at guys like Mike and Shane, they went to Japan. Well, Mike went to the States and then to and from the States, and then to Japan and to and from Japan before they even became TMDK and Noah, and then to TM61 in the WWE. But then at the same time, you've got other guys who hit the right places and you know, do a little bit, you know, in other places, and then they just get seen by the right people, and then that can create something. And if all the stars and the planets align, you know, and create this perfect, you know, little storm for me to be able to do something without completely just, you know, having to shake up my whole lifestyle, that would be fantastic. But it's I got to be real here. They're not going to pay me the kind of money as I am to be like, hey, bring your family. We'll get you a house over here, and you can, you know, like it's, yeah. I'm not completely erasing it, but it'd be a tough, hard yards to get anything happening.
Absolutely, man.
It seems to be very hard for any Australians as it is to sort of get a shot over there. But I also do think that as the years go on, it's becoming more and more likely that people in Australia to sort of get that big break and that big shot in professional wrestling.
Well, there's never any Australians there for years except for Nathan Jones, and now we've got like what, 5 of them?
And they're all,
there
fucking,
now,
they're all
or
pretty
6
good.
of them.
And a little
Yeah.
sidebar.
So
Definitely
like,
better than Nathan Jones.
absolutely.
And a little sidebar, like how fucking crazy is it seeing like Shane Haste and Elliot Sexton on Raw, like
Yeah,
with MVP of all people.
insane.
It's fucking insane, man.
Well, for me, like I like brawled with Shane in a backyard wrestling scenario, like in the mid 2000s. So to know that I fake punched this guy that's now been on WWE Monday Night Raw is pretty crazy to me.
Oh, 100%. And oh shit, yeah, it's just amazing, honestly. Like something that when I started wrestling, I didn't even think was a thing.
No.
Like 100% was just like, yep, I get to wrestle in Perth. That's gonna be it.
That's good enough for you, yeah.
Yeah. So to see these guys doing so well, it's just amazing. Like, and then J-Rock as well over there. I met him a couple of times when he came to Perth. Fucking great guy, and he's killing it in NXT right now.
Yeah.
And same with Elliot Sexton. And then even like the Iconics.
The fucking Iconics, man. I love them.
They're killing it.
Man.
They're
They're
killing
so
it. And then,
entertaining, man.
So good.
and,
So good.
And another thing, last time I went to Melbourne, which wasn't that long ago, I got to I met Emma.
Yeah.
And she was killing it before anyone was killing it in the Fed, you know.
She was great.
Yeah, and then she's, you know, she was here doing some stuff with Summer Rae, and like it was so funny. I happened to be in Melbourne, like when they were there, and then I came home and I was actually booked on the show they were doing in Perth, but because I was on a holiday with my family, I didn't quite make it back in time. So it was just like, you know, was trying to do the shows back to back, but it just didn't eventuate. So that was really cool as well. But yeah, it's amazing, like seeing just Australians anywhere, and then like guys still killing it in Japan. Like, I mean, obviously not this second because he's back home, but Robbie Eagles was over in Japan killing it, and Chris Weiss is there right now. There's been a few other guys doing little things here and there as well. It's just Australian wrestling's killing it. Like
another one was like Damian Slater wrestling Tajiri in the Cruiserweight Classic. Like,
oh my god, yes, crazy good.
That was when I saw that, I was like,
man, we're gonna have to get Damien on the show, bro. We're gonna have to get him on the show.
Yeah, Damien's another one of those names that we'd love to.
Damien, Marcus Pitt, Mikey, that'll be fun. That's a good bunch of
yes.
All right, Jack, you've got 3 more to go on your end before we get to 5-second frenzy.
Yeah, a few really sort of fun questions now, not so really much about career related, but this one's a bit of a fun question we like to ask with most of our guests. Now, a lot of these are usually Owen Hart related, but obviously this is a bit of a different case. Do you have any good rib stories from over the years?
Rib stories? Oh,
Probably. Oh, you put me on the spot though.
I should have given you a heads up,
stories.
bro.
Yeah. Oh, there's probably like hundreds of them, but it's just
yeah.
A, finding appropriate ones, and B, just remembering the things. Good ribs. Nothing's springing to mind. I mean, a couple of times I had like got home from a show, looked in my bag, and there was like other people's like KFC rubbish. That's the first one that springs to mind. I'm like, yeah, cool guys, fucking great. No one's shit in anyone's bag as far as I know.
Damn it.
So that's
Well, X-Pac and Randy Orton weren't in the locker rooms.
No, they definitely weren't. Which that was another cool thing though, by the way, meeting X-Pac when he came down for the NWA show.
Oh
that
yeah,
was cool.
that's a while back. Yeah.
Yeah, a long time ago, but that was ribs, good ribs. Oh man, I'm coming up dry. Like that is it's disappointing.
No, we've had I think a lot of our guests just don't answer that question because it's like, again, there's some that just aren't some that aren't appropriate. There's some that have been really good, but I think they would rather ask the permission of whoever actually did the rib first.
Yeah.
A lot of them are just Owen Hart ribs, like a lot of just funny Owen Hart ribs.
Just
that we
stupid
have
things that he did, locking people
Yeah.
in their dressing room, so when their theme song's playing, they can't get out the room. It happened to Mark Merrow and the British Bulldog. They were in a room together, and Owen locked the door, and Mark said he could hear his theme song playing. They couldn't get out, and Bulldog's like, "It's fucking Owen! It's fucking Owen!"
That's a good one. You should try.
That's great. I'm down. I've written that down, and it's in my back pocket for next opportunity.
Please, if you do anything to anyone, do it to Del Cano. We would love that.
Yes,
you.
Amazing.
Fuck, it has to be to Del Cano.
Done deal. Oh yeah. And then when I do it, I'll be like, "This one's for Carl."
Thanks, bro.
Carl and Jack.
He'll know, man. He'll know.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Who gave you the best advice over the years?
Locally, best advice. Well, that's tough because thing is, in a lot of, I find in wrestling, you get tidbits, like just little things here and there, nothing like profound. But Dave's a great one for advice. In the early days, Carney was quite good. FN Carnage was really quite good for advice. If I have someone I go to now, if I like need to question anything or have anything, I speak to Kyle Steria.
Yep.
He's very the aggressive side. I'm very tame nowadays. I used to be quite aggressive, but now I'm like always like, oh, let's find a way to make things work. But if I ever need the aggressive side, I'm like, hey Kyle, is this fucked up or not? And he's like, yeah, that's fucked up. Okay, cool. Good to know. International, like guys I've met like from shows that are international. Have you ever heard of I don't know if I'm gonna get his name right. Muhammad Ali Vaez. He was from OCW and he did a little bit in Melbourne for a while, and he's been in Perth. He's American, plays the Arab American gimmick. Not fully, but like he does the American thing, but with his name, you know, it sort of comes with that territory. And like, honestly, he's like, slow down, man. Like the best advice I've ever had from someone is just like, you know what, just slow down.
Yeah, no, you got his name right. I just Googled it.
Yeah. Oh, nice. And just like, yeah. And it wasn't the first time I'd heard it, but it was working with him and just working a pace. You know, you need to speed up at certain times for certain things. It needs to go hell for leather because it's needed. But in general, I find, and other people, I've done it since hearing this advice, I've worked with other people. They just like, they panic and they rush and they go to the next thing, and just slow down to enjoy the moment, and to let things sink in.
And actually, one that just springs to mind. I remember David Storm in sort of the middle towards the end of the last few years. He's like, fucking enjoy it. Like, what's the fucking point of doing wrestling if you're not enjoying it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So they're slow down and enjoy yourself.
Cool,
Wrestling
man.
is one of those things where it's like, it's very niche. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's not a lot of people into it. And if you're into it, chances are you've been into it just your whole life and you just can't get the fuck away from it. As much as you'd like to, you just can't.
Very much so,
I've
yes.
tried to. I'm still
I-
stuck.
I tried and it's not going to happen.
Once I think I'm out, they drag me right back in again.
Lastly, do you have any regrets from your EPW careers over the last 15 years?
Well, having a seizure, that was quite
Yeah, of
regretful.
course.
That, like I was saying, that taking it too far, instead of planning for a good story to make it make sense and for people to enjoy it, I went into it thinking I'm going to fuck myself up as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I achieved it, and it didn't work out. And it's not an easy thing. Like I can say it, not taking better care of my body. I'm in a good place right now, but there's just like niggling injuries like that will just flare up every now and again, like my back, sometimes my neck, my shoulder.
Yeah.
My knees were good for a long time, but then just recently I hurt my knee, and every now and again, like the amount of clunks and fucking clicks when just with regular movement, like
Yep.
yeah.
Every time I get out of a seat, I get a double click from both knees.
Oh shit!
I'm working on
right,
it now,
man.
the personal trainer, but like, man, my knees are so shit. It's because of working in the bottle shop, lifting shit, and I've just fucked myself. But yeah, I know how that feels.
Yeah.
That tall meniscus shit. I don't know if you've ever had the thing where your knee locks while you're trying to sleep in bed, or
shit!
get that burning feeling in your knee, and when you're
no.
when you're like half asleep and you get that burning feeling, fuck, that's a cunt.
Yeah, no fun. I lost a little bit of sensation in my thumb and forefinger on my right hand side because of inflammation in my neck and like burning in my forearm, just like intense like burning. But that was again not looking after myself. Gotta protect that. And not, if I could tell like anyone, like as far as regrets goes, not that I regret so much, but say someone was starting off, they sort of know what they're doing, they're just sort of starting off in Perth, I'd be like, get the fuck out. Go to Melbourne, go to Sydney, try and go to England, try and go to Japan. I'm not saying forever, but the more you wrestle, the more it becomes like a habit. You know what you're doing more. You become more accustomed to, if something not goes wrong like in a major way, but in a minor way, you're like, okay, this is how am I going to adjust for it and cover it over. There wasn't as much opportunity to wrestle when I first started. It was like maybe once every month or 2 months. And while that's fine, it's just not enough to really improve. I wish I had planned in the early days to go to the States for a little bit, but I couldn't get the funds together. I wish I had have pushed that. It may have changed. And then again, I may have gone to the States and gone, fuck this shit, I never want to do this again. But it's one of those things where get as much experience, and especially wrestling people better than you, worse than you, take it all in. I've never been a kind of guy to be like, no, I'm not wrestling that guy. But definitely that's not the right attitude to have. Make it always safe for yourself. But as much practice and physical ability, like just always train, always keep moving, always keep on your diet, like I regret not having that shit more locked down earlier in my life, but not to the point of a serious regret, but it's something if I could change, I would.
Yeah, of course. We all have those.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Carl, 5 second.
All right,
mate. Let's do it.
Oh shit!
You know about
I've heard of this.
Frenzy?
Yes, I do. I don't know if I'm ready for it, man. If I'm hyped.
Oh, this is great. This is the first person that's been interviewed that knew, because none of these guys are gonna fucking know. So 5 second Frenzy.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, you're gonna say?
I say I watched 55 live. I've seen it.
Very nice.
Excellent. You're one of about 100.
Yeah.
So, as per usual, 5-second frenzy. You have 5 seconds to answer each question. Even if you break the 5-second rule, it doesn't matter. Quick fire. It's very hard to get quick fire answers from wrestlers because of what they've put themselves through over the years. But
The brain doesn't work. Yeah.
here we go. The Don, Michael Morleone, your favorite match you've ever had?
Oh, so many reasons for different matches, but I'd have to say my championship match against when I first won my championship off David Storm. That's probably it.
Sweet, bro. Your favorite wrestler?
Oh, now ever? Oh, that's fucked. That's a tough one because it's like so many reasons for different people, but I'd have to say it has to be Stone Cold Steve Austin because I named my son Austin for that reason. So,
all right,
let's go with now as well.
Right now, current active wrestlers. I haven't watched a heap super recently, but if you're talking about like the Fed, I like Roman Reigns. Like, I know it's not a popular opinion, but he has presence and he has come up in a time when people want to boo the good guy, like to be like, this is who you want me to go for? Fuck that guy. And that's a prick of a spot to be in.
Did you?
It's not his fault.
No.
Hang on, Carl.
Yes, Jack.
At a WrestleMania 32. WrestleMania 32 viewing at the game, were you the guy that fucking ran up on stage and did the full Roman Reigns taunt when he beat Triple H?
Yeah, I fucking did. That was me.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh, that is so heinous.
And the best thing about that was I was pretty much being that guy that I don't like because everyone was like, yeah, Triple H, because Roman's the next guy. We don't like him. And I was like, fuck y'all. Roman's the man. Like, he's the Triple H is only in this match to put fucking Roman over. You're all going to be disappointed at the end.
Yeah.
That's fucking right. Like,
because Triple H is my all-time favorite, so that's why I was so salty that morning at the game, man. I was fucking ready to kick off.
Oh shit! I was stirring it. Too. No, and you know what? I take nothing away from Triple H because he's called the game for a reason. Like,
exactly, you got to play the game.
He's amazing. Like, however, his time is done. Like, at that time, he'd done everything. He was literally. You have. I feel like there's an arc. There's like your enhancement talent at the start, and then you have your moments. Like, it goes up, and then as you go off and you get older, you're there to put over the next guy.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
and he's a fucking businessman, and that's why he runs that shit. Like, and because he knows.
And he retired over the weekend, by the way, everyone. Unofficially retired. Yes. I did it quietly.
I think he should have one more.
Wrestling retirement doesn't ever stick.
Yeah, he should have one more and then have it be known it's the last one instead of, I don't even know what his last match was. It would not have been that tag match with the Brothers of Destruction in Saudi Arabia.
No, it wasn't. It was.
Okay. Anyway, back to 5-second frenzy.
Yes.
I forgot what
your favorite opponent over the years?
Oh, favorite opponent. Oof. There's been many. I've had a lot of really good opponents, like really great people. That's a tough one. So many different reasons for so many different people, but I'd have to say David Storm, because he's a guy who brings it out of you. Like, whether you mean to or not, it's just his like solid, just hard stare, and you can just feel like, they say about The Rock, you feel the electricity. When you stand across the ring from David Storm, you can feel his passion. You can feel him like fucking like, you better be good because I'm going to be on my game. And if you can't match me, you're fucked. Like, so like that just brings it out of you. Like, whether you want it to or not, it's amazing.
And you know what? That just uncovered this memory of mine that I just hadn't thought about in years. I did an EPW training camp many years ago. I think I was 19 or something. Nice. And I started doing the training, and then we got to a stage where we were doing like training matches. So I actually had a match with Dave, and
Oh, nice.
I was too shy to actually. He was, you know, he was allowing the opportunity for me to try and hit a move on him, or even a clothesline. But I felt like it wasn't my place to even try and hit a move on him. The only thing I did in the match was he put me in the corner and I kicked him in the gut. And as I kicked him in the gut, I pitter-patted him on the head. Like,
no.
Like being the heel.
Oh,
and,
no.
When he looked up, this is a training match. So he knows it's a training match and he knows I'm playing the heel, but just in front of 10 people, the intensity. Yeah. He was in character at that moment.
Yeah.
And he just laid into me with a forearm, backbreaker.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
That's one of the most unsung, like, if you were to, like, Greco-Roman style, you know, you get him down and you get him into the downward dog, or you get him flat. If you know that spin and that patter on the back of their head, that is the greatest insult you can give to someone. So you have pretty much, in kayfabe, given him the fucking biggest insult. You can just pat him on the head like he's like a puppy. It's like, I will fucking kill you. Like,
because I knew what was going to come next. I knew what was going to end my demise.
You knew what was happening.
That's what the trainee at the time deserved. So
that's it. Fair enough.
But as you're saying about like the way he is, like just the look in his face, he was in character at that point in time in front of like 10 people just watching this trainee have a match.
Excuse me, why was that never mentioned in the interview with him?
I totally forgot until just now.
That's amazing.
No. Your favorite food, Don?
Favorite food. I want to say like burgers.
No, they're great. Yeah.
Burgers are fantastic, and there's so many cool places to go to get it now.
Yeah.
Like Varsity is amazing, and there was where's this other place I went to? It's in Victoria Park. It was fucking amazing.
Chimek?
I can't remember. It might have just been. Is there a Varsity in?
There's a
Varsity. No, there's not. It's in Netherlands and Joondalup and Morley.
Okay.
Burgers, Victoria Park. I'm googling it.
It's they've got one another place. It's
is it Royale's Chicken and Burgers?
Royale's. Oh, amazing burgers, Royale's.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I've never been.
Yes.
Another place to check out. Another place to check out is O Burgers in Northbridge. I went there yesterday. Fucking incredible.
O Burgers, nice.
All right.
I think it recently opened. Anyway.
Your favorite alcoholic beverage?
It depends on the moment, right? Because I'm into my hip hop. I will crank out Hennessy occasionally. It's not my favorite, but just because I love hip hop, I will drink Hennessy. But to my go-to is probably Wild Turkey pre-mixed.
Nice.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Your favorite film?
Oh, well, that's a little bit obvious.
The Sopranos.
The Godfather.
The Godfather.
The Godfather.
Sopranos is a TV show.
Yeah, no
Sopranos is a TV show, Jack.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
So TV show, Sopranos?
TV show, yeah, for a time, but then fuck Breaking Bad, man.
I'm wearing this shirt, bro.
The butter being, that's my place, man.
Actually, Breaking Bad is my favorite TV show.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Sopranos for a long time was, but damn, like it's...
When Breaking Bad came out, my God.
Oh, next level.
Absolutely. Your favorite musical artist?
Cypress Hill.
Sick.
Cypress Hill is my jam. That's my current entrance theme. I never want to change it, but I really feel in this thing. I want to work with Paul, with Bluntfield, and make something original. Have an original song would be sweet. Yeah. My favorite one of 5 Second Frenzy. Your favorite female body part. Oh, this is, and I've seen a few people like, man, I don't know if I can break them down to just body parts, like, and I'm sure not a lot of them didn't tell you the right thing. They just went something like the smile. Oh, Dave said the eyes, I think, didn't he? The eyes. They can sell it. The eyes can sell it hard. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm a booty man. Like that's hell fucking sick, bro. That's my thing. Like, I mean, that's it. All of it in general, But yeah, I'm definitely a booty man. Hell excellent, bro. So is Bob Holly. So yes, my dude. And finally, the Don Michael Morleone, your favorite curse word. Fuck. Fuck. It's good, man. It feels good. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite I mean, I know a lot of people don't like it, but I'm quite fond of the C word.
Oh,
I am too.
But not in a always in a derogatory way. Like, this guy's a mad cunt. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
That's the highest praise you can give someone. Like, you are a mad cunt. Like,
Yeah.
but it also can be, you're a fucking mad cunt. Like, you are mad. Like, you've there's it's just so expressive. But I will have to say, I drop F-bombs a lot more than C bombs for sure.
Yeah.
It's
and
funny,
like Jack, you and I think we can agree that the Don, Michael Morleone, is a mad cunt.
Yeah, he's a mad cunt.
My boys. Yes.
He's a good cunt.
You guys, 55 Live, mad cunts.
Thanks, bro. Jack, do you have anything else to say, bro?
Other than the fact I think it's funny that foreigners find it crazy that we say cunt so loosely.
Yeah.
I've had to explain many times to Americans that come here to Australia and hear us say cunt so loosely and friendly that it's a good thing to be called a cunt and not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I just...
It's like that meme that went around, cunt equals mate and mate equals cunt.
Oh, yeah, because if you say to someone, oh, your mate, they're not their friend at all.
No.
But if you say, what's going on, mate? You know, like, it can be said, like, when you're getting kicked out of somewhere, you don't get to say, excuse me, sir. It's like, come on, mate, time to go. Like, it's...
Yeah.
You get into an argument, you're like, listen, mate.
Yes.
You don't say, listen, cunt. You don't say that. So,
No.
yeah, he's a good cunt.
Yeah, he's a good cunt. Get fucking your mate over here.
Exactly, yeah, like shit like that, like old mate as well.
Yeah.
Fuck, I love Australia.
So good.
Well, the Don, Michael Morleone, we want to thank you so much for giving us 2 hours and 42 minutes of your time far.
It's
here
been
tonight.
fantastic.
I've had a ball. I'm sure you've had a ball, Jack. But I want to say, as per usual, I give the nice little speech at the end. You should be so proud of everything that you accomplished, man. 15 years. What a journey. You've been champion. You've been tag champion, hardcore champion. You've created memories and moments that will last for your lifetime. And not just your mind, but mine and Jack's mind. And we really appreciate you. And we really want to wish you the best of luck when things get going again with EPW.
Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate you having me on. I always enjoy a good chat with good people, so with good cunts. So
thanks, bro.
No, man.
And after we stop recording, we'll just have you on for one last question. But Jack, if you want to close things out, let's do it.
Yep. So no, thanks everyone who's been watching the 55 Live podcast. Again, this has been Michael Morleone as our special guest tonight. Next week we have, is it Spanish Angel, Carl?
It's supposed to be Spanish Angel, but he's got a pretty tough work schedule. So if it falls through, it falls through. But Angel from Doubaldies in ECW is hopefully coming next week.
And then we've got a good lineup of some other guests, a couple of ECW names as well. I'm not even gonna.
Let's not pre-announce anyone because the fucking some of these pro wrestlers, dude. Some of the time they just they bail on us at the last second, and we've already announced them. And fucking hell.
Yeah, man. So anyway, if anyone is watching and listening and you've made it this far, thank you very much. And as always, you can go down there and hit subscribe unless you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or any other platform on Anchor FM. Then you know the drill. Just follow us, leave us a review. You leave us a 5 stars, do your thing. And until then, this has been Mr. 55. I'm leaving you with California and Fury and the Don, Michael Morleone. Thank you.